This is Albert Wesker of S.T.A.R.S Alpha Team, and you're listening to the Let's Talk Resident Evil podcast.
What is going on, everyone?
How's it going, everyone?
We are here with another episode of the Let's Talk Resident Evil podcast, and this is a special interview edition of the show, John.
Yes, it is. It's
We're
a guest.
back. Yes.
It's a guest that we've been waiting for 25 years.
Long time. Long time.
I mean, the channel's not 25 years old, but
It's
we've
not.
been waiting. We've been waiting. It's Pablo Kuntz, the original voice actor of Albert Wesker.
Yes, I am here. I am here, boys.
Yes.
Good to be here. Thanks.
Good
thanks
to
for
have
having
you on
me.
the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Thanks
that's
for
great.
taking the time. This is awesome because, I don't know if you know this, but, a lot of people in the community and fans, there's a lot of individuals that were trying to, find or track down the people that were
Yes.
voicing our original characters in the first game, because it seemed to be somewhat of a mystery for a while until, the internet and the RA community started to blossom a little bit on the forums and YouTube pages where they ended up finding a bunch of people. Did you know that some people were kind of like looking for that up to a certain point, or looking for certain actors? Or
Well, that's how it all started. I mean, I was, I had my own channel, my Pablo Kuntz on YouTube, promoting mainly Japanese swords, right? Antique Japanese swords, which we'll get to, I'm sure.
absolutely.
Mhm.
And so I'm introducing my first sword, right? My first wakizashi, very proud. You can tell it's one of my first videos because the light's all behind me. It's a complete shadow, and I'm looking sort of menacing in some ways. And I'm holding my Japanese sword, and I'm talking through it, and I look at the comments, right, as you naturally do, and people are saying, "Nice sword, looks good, congratulations, blah blah blah." And then somebody says, "It is rumored that you are the voice of Albert Wesker of RE1. Is this true?" Right? It was written in a kind of a second language English type of situation, And I'm like, Albert Wesker, like where is that name from? Like I recognized it, but and so of course I do this, this search online on Albert Wesker, and then I'm like, no, and I just see all this, all these video clips or audio clips of the game, and actually, but I also noticed that it was like Sergio Jones and Sergio Alarcon, which is a good friend of mine. His face is there. I mean, he's credited as being the voice.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's this? Sergio? It's not even me. And I'm thinking maybe it's a good thing actually, because everyone's ripping me up with his voice acting. So maybe I'll let Sergio get the heat for this one. But it was through that video. It was through that my first Japanese sword where somebody found me and said, "Are you?" And then it took me like I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to finally say, yes. I think I said "blast from the past" or something like that. And then this, of course, tsunami of like comments after, like, really? And then people like, listen, it's obvious, because I guess there was some speculation that Sergio wasn't the first voice of because I think he was on Baywatch or something. He had some clip on Baywatch, and no, I think it was General Hospital. It was an old soap opera back in the day. Anyway, he had and there was a clip of him going, whatever, "Yeah, I'm sorry to bring you the bad news, blah blah blah." He's, as a doctor, right? And people are going, that's completely not his voice, and so even those, because apparently people, there are a lot of fans from South America, I think, actually, and these even they could tell this not quite right.
Something was off.
So they were on the search for Red October, basically, right? And so that they found me through this. I don't know how, but they found me, and I just opened up Pandora's box, and the next thing I knew, this is only 4 years ago, right? Like, if that, I had no idea about Albert Wesker, Resident Evil, anything about this whole thing, and I had been living in Japan too for several years, and this whole, biohazard. I saw the the movie clips and all these things, but I didn't put anything together. It was so weird. I never played the game, didn't know anything about it, but that's how it all germinated. Amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy, because you could just tell that the fans were just like wanting to kind of have like that closure of like, okay, who actually is it? Like, I think that was the big thing of like, of all the actors, they were just like, we just want to know, because they're just fans of it, and they're like, there was so much like different information going on throughout the years. That's kind of crazy that like it just recent as 4 years ago, and the game is 25 years old. That stuff is just now still getting kind of cleared up of like who did what and who worked on what.
Yeah, it's the honest truth. It's the honest truth, and people, and still today, like, do you know? We're trying to find Inez, and it's like there's all this hunting for people. It's like Pokemon or whatever.
Yeah,
but it's
gotta find them all.
Gotta find them all.
Gotta find them all.
Yeah.
But it's been a real trip, and everybody has been so gracious and really, like if you saw the clips, it's actually, I never thought about this until just now, but if you saw the clips and everybody kind of ripping on the voice acting and all that, but since sort of coming out as being Wesker, it's been just basically positive feedback, actually, in the sense that I'm glad you're owning it and embracing it, because you've played such a, and it means a lot to me, actually, that I've learned that I've played a role in people's lives, growing up, and I really had no idea, but it's been a real terrific surprise, actually, really. Yeah, kind of a touching surprise, actually.
Yeah.
I mean that. I really mean it. Like, people have been emailing me and, for interviews, and everybody has been very polite and forthcoming. And so I'm just a lucky guy, I suppose, just lucky.
That's awesome, man.
Wesker calculates everything.
Yes.
So you're not lucky. Your disappearance and resurgence was all planned from the beginning.
All planned.
That's right. That's right.
Kick it off, man.
You found me out. You found me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning with your voice acting career. We spoke on the phone. You said that Resident Evil was the first and only video game that you ever did, right?
Only one.
The only one. A one-hit wonder.
One-hit wonder.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually voice acting in Japan for very long, really. Do we want to know the story? I moved to Japan in '93 after university, and I was originally an English teacher, hired to be an English teacher, and quit after 5 months. I couldn't handle it.
I just want to let you know, I was born in '93.
You were born in '93. Yeah. November, by any chance?
December 1st.
So basically, I was November '93, because I remember I was November 4th, I think it was, and I flew out to Japan. And I'm only 22 at the time, and like I said, I was hired as an English teacher in Canada to work in Japan for a 1-year contract, and it was at Nova, this company called Nova. Mm-hmm. And which in Spanish means don't go, like Nova, like don't go there. So I think a lot of the Spanish, actually they spoke Spanish. There were some teachers that were teaching Spanish as well. But that was a popular English school, and I was hired there to go. And but like I said, I quit. And then a friend of mine from university said, Pablo, I think that you should check out modeling and acting, or just you're there. They're looking for foreign talent, whatever, and I think you can probably do it. And it's just like that. Like, it's just decisions like that were not pre-planned whatsoever. But here I am looking for, what can I do for work? So I ended up joining some freelance sort of modeling agencies, and I quickly got some work as the dad, as the young guy, and I had this kind of big nose, so they always wanted to have like a profile of this nose, because Japanese have more flatter nose. So he's obviously foreigner. He has the nose. I even did a commercial where it was a shadow and it was just my nose. Like that, the whole
that's crazy
silhouette. This guy's just crazy. But that nose has been valuable. It
got you work. Yeah,
it got me work when I think about it. And because I was always going like, I just do a little profile. Oh yeah,
right.
Definitely foreigner. And then anyway, I ended up making a sort of a audio tape or audition tape, and then started getting some voice acting work from there. But it was one of my first, because I started with remember 93, so 94 I'm quitting, starting stuff in 95, and end of 94, 95 I was doing some, voice stuff. And I got hired in 95. It was one of the first auditions, I think, really. And when I think about it, I didn't really do. And then I left in 97 to go study the web, and I came back to start a company in Japan, which maybe we'll talk about later. But it was this period of 93 to like 97, or 94 to 97, and Resident Evil, of course, was recorded in 95 and came out in 96, right?
Yeah.
So it was the only game that I did, but I did other sort of English language tapes and other, video promotional stuff. Clarion. There was this one. There's an audio, car audio called Clarion. I don't know if it still exists, But I did the voice for Clarion. I remember I had that on one of the few memories that I have.
That's so cool.
But game wise, it's not like I had this plethora of all different games. That was it. This is it. Wesker OG.
Wesker. So what was the audition process like? Like, was it like a sheet on the alleyway, or was it like, did you have to go to a building, or you said you joined like a freelance company? Did they find it for you?
That's right. I think so.
Okay.
I didn't actually go, and voice wait like as you would do in a modeling agency, right? Like a modeling audition that you would, or a TV commercial, you would just wait. So much waiting when I think about it. I was just waiting all the time, just waiting in the room. But for this one, and this is one of the reasons why the voice actors, and I quickly learned that these guys were making way more money than the modeling guys, because they just had tapes and they would just throw the tapes out, and they didn't have to, most of the time, even audition. They would listen to the demo tape, and I think that Sergio got me that job. I think Sergio introduced me to the, because I knew Sergio from doing some commercials, and it's a small community of four guys there and girls. I met Sergio, and I'm pretty sure that he introduced me to, or my voice, whatever, to this one production agency that just happened to be hired by Capcom to find the voices. I'm not going to tell you there were 100 voices I went after for Wesker. There was probably 10, maybe. I don't know. I really don't, but not very many, That's my gut feeling. And so, yeah, I got hired.
So you were just the best.
Tape, aren't you?
You just beat down the competition.
I think how old was Wesker, do you think, in the game?
I know he was 26.
Okay.
No.
I'm 23.
Yeah.
I think it was 26, I think, yeah.
No.
Or late.
No, 30. Is it 36?
Maybe 30.
I think it's 36.
Would have to fact check that.
He looks kind of young. He looks kind of young. In those,
the manual, manual says.
Let me
26 was Chris. That's why I jumped to that.
Chris, we're gonna get attacked if we don't get this right on the spot. So
right. Yeah.
When you know so much, it's like everything kind of blends together at some point.
38.
38. So he was 38. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He's a little bit of an old genius.
Right.
Not that 38's old.
Well, there goes my theory. I thought that they were looking for somebody who was that age, relatively young, but I don't know. Maybe I just had that sort of. I don't know what they were looking for personally. I mean, maybe sort of an arrogant sort of way. I'm not sure. I really not. I don't know what sold it. They didn't. I didn't get any feedback. Oh, we chose you because of this, and never asked.
You're Canadian, right?
I'm from Canada. That's right.
That's it.
That's
You're
right.
in.
That's all I needed.
That's all you needed. They said, "Where's this guy from?" He's the only Canadian that applied. He's in.
We got him.
Right.
Put him
just
in the
need
game.
a Canadian. So that it could be because what? Chris Redfield, right, is also Canadian.
Yep. So is Barry.
Well, none. But actually, is Albert Wesker? Where is he from?
Oh, he is actually. So this is way later, but at the time, undisclosed. Nobody.
Okay.
All of them are just.
So Raccoon City.
Raccoon City area.
Not in this. Not in the States. It's not like.
It's in the States. No. Raccoon City's in the States. It's in the Midwest. Not a specific area.
Okay. Right. So
Wesker is actually like a test tube baby. He's part of the Wesker children, but it's not really ever. It's it's not really ever really like talked about like in the original game where that Wesker is from. They added on to it later.
Yeah, some like they did.
But the assumption is also American, though. No?
Yes,
Right.
the assumption is he's he's very Aryan.
Yeah.
He's blue eyes, blonde hair, sunglasses.
Yeah, right. Okay, right.
Yeah, and
Okay.
but he's American. Yeah, but then
So
he
it just
has
needed to be Canadian,
as the games go on, he gets more and more British.
which is the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm married to a British person, right? You know, Donna's British. I'm living here in the UK, and I can, you know, I could tell these are not British people. Some of them are not British.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And it's okay. I mean, but it's like, why? You know, like I'm not sure why they had to do that. Like why they had to morph into this. And
he goes from
I don't get it.
He goes from being like it's probably Chris to like Chris.
Yeah.
He's like angry British. It's like it's great.
Angry.
Correct.
Right.
7 minutes is all I have to spare. with
All
you.
I can spare.
7 minutes. I should probably do some of those lines. Actually, just
It
for
would
fun.
be so
Like,
great.
you know?
That'd be awesome.
It would be great. You have to give
That
us
would
your
be-
best because Wesker hates Chris.
Is that right?
Yeah, you have to give us your best Chris
Yeah.
scream, your angry Chris, in your
Okay,
Resident
I'll do
Evil
that.
1
I
voice.
want to keep my voice because it's
Because it's
getting
early.
late. It's getting late in the night here, so I better keep my voice. But yeah, I'll do some whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I'm game.
Chris.
I'm quite game. You know.
Chris, why are you laughing?
Stop
Chris,
it.
Stop it. Chris! It's just so fucking screaming.
That's how you guys talk all the time. Too.
Yeah,
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 exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Get out of here.
Um,
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, what was the process like for when you were recording your lines? Like,
Yeah.
what was it? Just at a studio? Was there any other of the voice actors there? Was it all just kind of like separate, like done separately?
like once you actually got the part, or
Once-
did
yeah.
they make you record the lines they wanted?
No.
Okay.
No. Got the job, and then we went to the studio, and I think we mainly recorded the lines by ourselves. It was a small studio, by the way. It was small. They didn't have a lot of budget, really. It just wasn't. I didn't get the feeling this was like mega money, you know, in terms of
Sure.
you know this. You know, I think it was an experimental sort of project. If I just gut feeling, I suppose. But I seem to remember being sometimes with somebody else. I'm sorry, I don't have the details.
You're fine.
I'm racking my brain on it. But I know there was only one mic. So it wasn't like we're all standing together, because I've seen some of these situations where they're, you know, reading the lines as Walt Disney sort of outtakes. You can see how they're doing the things. That's nothing like that. It was like I was sitting down for sure, and just reading the lines, because you can actually tell. I mean, I'm basically reading some of these lines over one after another. You know, I could tell when I'm listening, because somebody sent me the whole list of things, you know, and it's just. I could tell I'm reading, you know, and there's no way I'm doing like 3 or 4 or 5 takes on each line. It's really just, you know, it's just one by one. But I remember the one mic and just trying to, just trying to get into I guess I was smiling a lot when I was trying to be a sort of arrogant smiley. So I noticed there was a couple lines when I was actually doing those lines with Lexonal, you know, some of those. And it's like, I was going, that's right. And I was going, that's right. Whatever, blah, blah, blah. You know, you guys know the lines better than I do.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I was like, but I'm going like, oh, and then I listened to it again. I go, no, that's right. Da, da, da. And I'm like, it's because I'm actually smiling while I'm doing it. So I have this, and it's me, you know.
It is.
It's me. I mean, it's if there's one sort of, what can I say, silver lining and all that sort of, in the acting and everything is that, and the feedback that I've received from people are saying that you actually sound like a regular guy. You don't look like you're acting so much, like that. You just sound like I was genuinely surprised when you were a bad guy at the end, basically, you know, and I thought that was kind of cool. And whereas I think the later generations they're more villainous. There's no secret, right? And maybe there doesn't have to be a secret, right?
Yeah.
The first season, it's obviously secretive, and I guess it worked out, you know.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
I remember watching Barry. By the way, I remember watching Barry
Ooh.
getting into his lines, like he was.
Oh, yeah.
I was through the window.
No, he was.
and he was like, oh, and like he was, because he's a bit older than me, and he was kind of really getting into his his lines, like, and he's like,
yeah,
and
that's gonna be.
That's awesome.
I hope we get to talk to Barry one day, because Barry's like, I just want to know like what he was on. Like what they gave him, like what kind of banana juice or something. Because he just like his lines, like when he talks to like Jill will be like, Barry. She'll be like, I can't even, bro. It's like
you can't even say it.
I love when Jill's like, something's wrong with this house, and Barry's like, well, it beats me. It's like it's just like so like crazy.
It's great. I just love his performance and that.
What's your favorite Barry line, bro?
It's got to be. I mean, the Jill Sandwich one,
Yeah.
but I also like it's Forrest. Oh my god.
Oh my god. It's so good.
It's great.
It almost sounds like his "oh my god." It like peaked, and then they just cut the first letter out. It's so good.
That's awesome though to hear that you remember him like getting ready.
I remember him doing the lines and getting right into it.
Did he?
And I loved it. I loved watching it. It was
Yeah.
really, because he's kind of, he's older than, I mean, he's got to be. I'm 50, so easily 65. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. And he was, so he was just, like he's kind of right. He was getting into it.
Yeah.
And I could tell Lynn Harris, right? I think
Yep.
Lynn was actually helped organize things. She was going like kind of with him, while he was getting into his lines, she was kind of getting excited about how he was getting into character, and she was, I think she was actually, when I think about it, she was sort of not ad-libbing, how do you say, doing the voice.
Improv?
Wait, if he would, improv, like, I mean, while he's reading a line, let's say he said Jill Sandwich, she would be like she would be just try to lip syncing, that's the word I was looking for. She was kind of lip syncing the word. She knew where the lines were coming, and then she's just getting right into it. It was quite fun,
That sounds like the perfect part, because Lynn Harris was the voice director and Rebecca.
She was.
Ready, start.
Yeah.
That's Rebecca, bro.
That's Rebecca, yeah.
Actually, I recognized Sergio's brother. What's his name? Clay.
Yeah.
There's Clay. Clay he's dying in one scene. Like it's so Clay. Like, because I know him,
Oh
like,
no, are you talking about Richard? It was a terrible demon. That one?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. That's Clay.
That's awesome.
Right?
Do people?
No, but I know who he is.
Oh,
I know who he is, but I didn't actually see him do
right
that line. But I was like, oh my god, it's so Clay.
But
like I know.
I wonder though if his name is confirmed as that role, because if it is, you would probably like. You yourself, Pablo, would know more than the internet, because if that's him, if you know his voice, like we're gonna check now to see if they actually know.
It's very strained.
Yeah,
like he's kind of going,
he's like, ouch.
That's
ouch. Yeah, exactly. I remember the ouch.
He's got a huge snake bite in his. It's like hole after hole, and Jill's like, Richard, are you? She's like, Richard, and he's just like, Jill, there are terrible demons. Ouch.
Yeah, that's Clay.
That's Clay.
That is 100% Clay, and I think his last name is Ennis.
Okay.
Anyway, but I'll confirm that.
Yeah, right there. He's in there.
He is,
Clay Ennis.
He is credited. Okay.
Clay Ennis.
Is it?
There's no link to him, so he's gone. He's ghosting.
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
He doesn't have an online profile or anything. Yeah. But all right, well, that's good. That at least we got that confirmed, though, because some people could have been.
He's also a legend.
Yeah, I mean, that the Richard lines are great. Like, they're always great.
The Richard and Enrico.
And it's funny because
Enrico,
it's
like hunches over, and he's like, you just hear, hell.
yeah. Don't step any closer, Jill.
Don't. That's really cool, though, that you could hear it. You heard the voices, and you were like, I know who that is.
Yeah.
That's Clay. It's Clay 100%. Because I was good friends with Sergio, and his older brother, and just because Clay has this kind of, he's a funny guy. He's he's a real funny. He's just a funny character, and he was living in Tokyo, right? And his mother was there. His mother was teaching, I believe, and I would hang out with Clay and Sergio, mainly Sergio, but Clay has this kind of voice, like, it's just exactly. It's exactly when he's dying. It sounds like Clay dying. I know. If I'm gonna visualize Clay dying, that's him. But yeah, great guy and a lot of fun. I'd love to see Sergio again. Actually, it'd be terrific because he helped me and we were just good friends.
Yeah, was Sergio part of the agency?
Not part of the agency, just he had that work in Los Angeles, right? On that General Hospital, and then he just decided to take some time away from the whole scene and escaped basically to Japan. But he had all these sort of Hollywood sort of stories, like just hilarious stories about meeting Tom Cruise, and he's about this high, like he was just like, and he was doing all this kind of like he is like that, and just Steely Dan, parties with Steely Dan, and all these just hilarious stories, that I'll probably keep under wraps, but he, but yeah, just a good guy, and but he was in Japan, and so he didn't work for that agency, but it wouldn't be uncommon for somebody to say, hey, do you know somebody that could help us with this particular thing? I think he was involved. That's why his name is there. I think why he's credited. Was he supposed to be the original voice of Wesker and he was doing something else? I don't know. I have no idea.
Maybe he. The only thing I could think of, I don't know. You'd have to correct me if this would be wrong, but the only thing I could think of is like if he gave them the thing and then was like, "What's the name?" and he thought that they were asking for his name and he gave his name. They probably just wrote that down.
Oh yeah. It's possible.
Or it could have been anything, but it's not him.
Yeah.
It's you.
It's not. Yeah, it's not him. And then when people, and it's like, it's like, and you look at some of those YouTube video comments, from my channel, it's like, just listen to it. It's obvious.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's obvious.
You're going to have to duel him for the IMDb credit.
Right.
That should have already been fixed at this.
It probably is already fixed. Yeah.
I think some people are helping make things straighten things out.
That's good.
That's okay. I mean, that's all.
Yeah.
It's all good with me.
You said when Lynn Harris was helping Barry Jurdy like energize, right? Did she
felt like it.
Did she do that for you too? Like,
I don't remember that.
Do you remember?
No, I don't think she was actually. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't like she was going, with him.
Yeah.
She was like, she's looking at the script. I think, you know what? That's what's happening. She was looking at the paper.
Okay.
And he's doing it, and he's reading. He's looking down, and so there's no eye contact.
Oh, so she was like acting it out as like
she's just like because she's just feeling it.
Yeah, I got you.
And I'm there in the sort of in the back because I'm not recording. So he's in the booth. So imagine like a little booth. You can you look in. He's in there because it's not a very big booth with one mic, and Lynn is because she's she's at the director's chair. I think she's helping. Okay. Next line, blah, blah, blah. So she's helping to organize, right, when she's not recording as well, of course. So she's directing. I'm sure she was directing to some degree. And so now he's recording, and so she's got the script, and as he's going through it, and she can feel that he's getting into it, and she's going, oh. And that's right, she's actually looking at the paper and kind of getting into the role while he's doing it. And so that's what happened.
So my question is, when you started voicing the lines for Wesker, did she or do you remember any type of direction before you got up there?
Not at all, like zero. I just don't remember anything at all whatsoever. There was no, apart from like he's a bad guy, like he's. But you remember the Japanese, they don't speak English, right?
No, yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, they study English, but there's always translators, and it was more like here's the script and just kind of go in there and just do it, really. That's the honest truth, really. There wasn't like, oh, Pablo, just take it, a little bit slower this one, and nothing like that.
So you walked in there, and you first stride just hit, wow, what a mansion.
Exactly. I mean, that's actually me, right? I mean, that's like,
that's so
I do that
cool.
now, and I'm like wow, like it's like that's actually one of my favorite lines, even though it's like made fun of. It's like that's completely. As a dad, even as a young guy, I'd be like, "Wow, look at this place!" Like, I mean, that's what I do, So it was not. That was an easy line for me, Some of this like, Chris as my subordinate, I'm like, what does that mean? Like I'm just like reading these because you can tell there was all Japanese translations and it was just so. But we were so used to it, right? We're doing all these funny TV commercials, and we just wanted to get work, right? I mean, I'm there freelancing so I can travel around Asia to Thailand and Vietnam and Indonesia. I just wanted to make a little bit of cash, really, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm doing these jobs, and then this was just we recorded over 2 days, and you know, it was decent pay, and especially if you're doing some backpacking, this is going to go a while, you know. But it wasn't. There's no mega money, you know. But it was cool, you know, great, you know. And I'm a young guy, and okay, I'll take it. So I was just grateful to have the job, and I remember getting the script in advance and reading some of the lines and just seeing Wesker and just highlighting what I had to say. But I'm a young guy, and I didn't really spend that much time thinking about how I'm going to approach this, you know, and getting into the. And I didn't even know this was. I knew it was probably going to be a game, but I didn't even think that far ahead. You know, I really didn't. You know, it was just do it and try to be arrogant, and I could visualize this sort of arrogant guy. And I think there was a picture. I think there was one shot of like a pencil, you know, some pencil picture of Wesker, and I said, oh yeah, he looks kind of arrogant and he doesn't look like a nice guy, you know.
Yeah.
But he's trying to be a nice guy. I could tell he wants to fool people here. So I think I'll smile a little bit. I think that's probably the extent of it, you know, how in terms of character. And I just tried to keep that, but I wanted to keep it normal, you know.
Yeah,
I wanted to keep it normal because that's all I could do. I didn't go there. Oh, do that voice, Pablo. I didn't.
Yeah.
My demo tape wasn't full of like 9 voices. Do this one for us, please. You know?
It
wasn't like that.
You just approached it the way you wanted to do it. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. It was honest. You know. It's an honest. I'm being honest in that in that thing. So it comes across some lines very weird. You know. And I wish I had second tries now, and I think I might. I don't know, I just leave it, but I can re-record some lines, but I don't know how people would feel about it.
Right.
I'm not sure.
If you re-recorded the entire script, somebody would mod it into the game.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And then we would just have PC versions of you in the modern take.
Yeah, because on PC they can just make it accessible so people could just download something and it fixes the game to where it puts like an audio track in, or it puts like a so there's ways that people do that stuff nowadays,
now,
you know. But
whether Capcom would like that, that's a different story.
Yeah,
but
right?
They don't even care about that game anymore, apparently. So
yeah, it's been
Is that
remade
right?
and kind of you know, like, and
but they've done new lines, right?
The remake,
the remake. So
yeah, exactly.
like there's no longer like don't open that door. I think don't go out there or something like that.
Yeah, they changed it.
They changed it.
They changed it completely.
No, he actually talks to her like a dog in that one. He goes, Jill, no.
Yeah.
Jill, no.
Yeah, he's like, Jill, no.
Jill, and it's not even like that. It's like, no offense to the other Wesker, but like, it's almost like so less over the top than the original game. I feel like it's flatter. Like he's like in
Jill, no.
Yeah, he's like
Jill, no.
But the way it comes out, it's like Jill, no. And then if you were going to record that back then, you would have been like Jill, no.
And we've talked to, you know, one of the voice actresses that two of them that worked on that game, and I think the direction was almost just as much as what you had.
Nothing.
Yeah, literal nothing. So even on the remake, when they had a chance to like do it again, to potentially be like, well, you know, it has a stigma about the voice acting. Let's try to. They didn't even really like make that big of an attempt as you would think.
Yeah, Heidi.
I thought. I see. I thought that the remake was inspired for the fact that the acting was so bad in the first one, so that it was like, okay, we have to do a remake. You know, so it wasn't that way.
Yeah, it wasn't really that. It was more just they wanted to like up the graphics and like bring it to the modern era at the time, which was only 6 years after. It was only 6 years after. And we got to talk to Heidi Anderson-Swan, who was Jill Valentine, and we got to talk to Hope Levy, who was Rebecca Chambers. And Rebecca Chambers, who Lynn Harris played in the original, The only voice direction that they gave her was, "You're a doctor," which she's not a doctor. She's like, "You're a doctor." And she's like, "Okay." It's like, she's like recording her lines.
Yeah, because it's like that's what they're telling you, so you're just kind of going with it, like, all right, you know. And it wasn't like much, you know. But yeah, it's speaking of like lines. I know you mentioned that you know you had like one of your favorite lines as well. You know, what a mansion. Do you have any other ones that are kind of like your favorite looking back? Now that you kind of like went through you heard all your lines again. Do you have a particular? I know that one is one of them, but
that was wow, what a mention. I mean, of course, "Stop It, Don't Open That Door" is a classic, but I remember. Did I write it down? There was one line that was quite funny. Oh yeah, where I say Barry's. I like this one actually. This one, where he's Barry's such a fool. I like this one.
Barry's such
this
a
is
fool.
such a Barry's such a fool. He'll be under the control. Take it again.
Yeah.
Barry's such a fool. He'll be under the control of Umbrella forever.
that's
like
awesome.
Like that. I remember that line actually. I like that line actually because Barry is just like such a fool.
Like you're so confident that like that Barry's just gonna like he's gonna fall for the tricks. He's
so you're planning something else.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then Wesker,
exactly, you know?
and then you're just like, I hear his wife and 2 daughters will be in danger if he doesn't do what I say.
Exactly.
It's
I
like
heard that his wife and 2 daughters will be in danger if he doesn't do everything I tell him to.
It's something like that. Yeah, it's really
something like that, right?
He's just so sinister, but he like doesn't. But you didn't change. Like it wasn't really different. Like Wesker's just like, you know, "Stop it! Don't open that door. Stay alert. I hear his wife and 2 daughters will be in danger."
I heard that his wife and 2 daughters will be in danger. Yeah, exactly.
It's so good.
Yeah, I know it's it's fun. It's fun just to.
I was watching your video too when you were doing some of the lines, and I really liked your response to the "Don't come this way," and then he just gets killed. It was so good. You were like you were like calculating. You had the pencil. You're like,
right.
I think I was like a little more energy. It was so good.
Right. No! I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Don't come this way. No.
It's like literally it. It's so
that's
good.
Perfect. Yeah. No. Again, like that was
which was planned, by the way. He injected himself beforehand to get killed, so he would get resurrected to be able to escape before it blew up.
That was
Look, did you see his face? He's like, what?
It's like what?
Yeah,
I know.
Pre-planned.
Right.
Well, I want to know do they come up with these stories after the fact, or did they actually write it?
A lot of it was they inject it after the game,
just to bring characters
exactly.
back, or you know, it was more plain.
Right,
it was more plain when they kind of just made up the game and the characters were what they were, and then you can tell they kind of do that movie thing where they go back and tweak it.
Right.
Yeah, because Resident Evil Code Veronica X was what, 2001?
Yeah.
Or Wesker was in Code Veronica, so until 2000. So those 4 years with the perfect triple, the trilogy on the PlayStation, Wesker was just dead. Yeah. Like he was considered to be dead, and then he comes back to haunt Dear Chris.
Yep.
Dear Chris. Yeah. And he's British. And then when you first heard that sort of more Britishy accent, did you guys care? Did you guys go like, what's
nah, we were little.
We were smaller at the time, but I did always thought that it was weird that
it was weird.
It, like you could tell Claire sounded the same and Chris sounded different. And I did realize, like, you know, at one point when I could understand like the voice acting better of like game to game that it was changing. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like actors changing in a movie. You're like, okay, sometimes like they just change it because of whatever. But yeah, I remember playing Code Veronica and that's when I was like, okay, it's also a different approach to Wesker because he's like pretty much superhuman.
Yeah, he's Neo.
He's Neo.
Basically.
Yeah.
And he gets more Neo and more British as time goes.
Yeah, more Matrixy. You know?
Yeah, because he's like in Code Veronica X. The first time you get to see him is when you go back to a place called the Palace, and then he's like, "Well, if it isn't the lovely Claire Redfield," and then she turns around and she's like, "Wesker," and he's just like. He just starts laughing, and it's just like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, it's just as like over the top as ever as they portrayed him in that. So I think they kind of kept that vibe, but yeah, they just changed the.
But he's great. He's a great character in all of them.
Yeah,
and everybody. Well, they brought him back because of popular demand.
Probably.
People were just saying like, God, we miss Wesker.
Yeah, Wesker was the sunglasses at night, kind of obviously bad guy, but also not.
Right. And now, him being portrayed in the live action movie.
Yeah, the new movie coming out in November.
People are wondering how they're going to portray it, because he wasn't really portrayed correctly in the Paul Anderson movies that came out.
No.
So now people are wondering, are they going to portray him in that, because it does take place in the mansion. So I guess we'll see how that goes.
Right,
But there so many portrayals of Wesker. But yeah, there's just a lot of like, I guess Wesker for us just kind of, it just represents a time of like, that was one of the first villain characters that I remember from like gaming, where I was like really memorable, because if you think about like that era of gaming for us anyway,
like Wesker, Sephiroth,
right?
If you call Blue a rival, like your rival in Pokemon a villain, but it's really just Sephiroth and Wesker. And Wesker's such a fan favorite because he's got the sunglasses, he's got the inhuman abilities. He was just a dick, right? Like he's just like he's like Chris.
Right.
It's just like Chris, you're an idiot. Yeah. It's just so good.
Yeah, he's so crass.
And did you meet Chris's voice actor?
I don't remember. No.
Yeah,
I just remember. I don't remember.
Your voice line, your back and forth of the game is hilarious at the end in the lab. When he's like, Wesker, I would never work for a company like Umbrella, and Wesker, you were formerly with them.
Yeah. So I'm just going to game-splain this whole thing.
It's just like so great.
Yeah,
you were
great.
Formerly with Umbrella.
You were formerly with him. Yeah, that's that sort of Japanese English once again.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's timeless.
Yeah. It's kind of timeless, and I think again people appreciate it because they appreciate old school horror or kind of B movie horror. Like I was mentioning earlier, I think it kind of is in line with that, where it's like there's a charm to it, and I think that's why like we always kind of hold it in higher regard and have a more like positive outlook on it, because it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, because there was a time where, you would hear voice acting in gaming and it was still ahead of its time back then. I think that's one thing I wanted to bring up too, is like, that's like, at the time, like they were kind of pushing,
you mentioned it was low budget.
Yeah.
That was probably huge budget for the time. Which is crazy.
Been, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't even know.
96,
I wonder if that's actually reported, like how much that game did cost. They made a fortune on it, but I wonder like how much like that actually costed them, because they were already established with like Mega Man and like all these other IPs. So I wonder, and then pushing the stuff on the PlayStation, being on CD technology, they were able to put so much memory into the games, and the voice acting was the big draw to that. So I think when people heard that, they were just like, holy crap, this is next level. You know what I mean? Like,
you mentioned, Chris, on the phone that the first voice that you hear was mine.
It is, yeah. Well, the first voice that you hear in the FMV is Chris, but the first voice you hear in the game is "Wow, what a mansion!" Immediately, it's yours.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you're the first one. It's they walk in, do. The camera angle changes, do, and then it's just, wow, what a mansion.
Yep. And it was just the intro cutscene up until that point, which had some dialogue, but it wasn't. That was the first in-game, in-voice little.
And all the sort of like these doors, right? These doors that open up, and the whole game itself. I think going back why it was special. I mean, it's just one of these secret sauces, right? It's just everything, like a cocktail that just comes together, and works, right? And but I think that the doors were something new. Is that right? Like just the way that the game operated, everything.
Yeah.
It was pioneering, no, in many ways.
Yeah. So a lot of games had to load, and when they would load, screens would just freeze, and they would just load, and then it would like do a transition. Right? Yeah. They hid the load times behind the doors, so that you would get the door and the door animation as that was happening. You would be transferred over, and the next pre-rendered background would load.
I see.
And then once it got to remake, they didn't really need to do that, but they did it still to keep the feel.
No, that's fantastic. It's very cool, right? Yeah, it's amazing how how it just worked. That and they were probably astounded just how it was received.
Yeah.
In Japan. Was it most sales in Japan? Do you know?
Well, it was the
outside.
It coined the first. It was literally the first survival horror game. It created a genre.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it sold really well. It sold really well
I don't know if what the sales were exactly in Japan versus U.S., but I'm sure it was, because by the time I got to Resident Evil 2, there was so much anticipation for that game that because the first one sold so well, there was a lot of anticipation for the second one. And it looks like PlayStation.
It sold 2.75 million units.
Okay. Yeah,
and then the director's cut and DualShock edition sold an additional 2.5 million.
Yeah, because they've re-released them again.
And then shortly after release, it became the best-selling PlayStation game at the time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was number one on the Billboard charts.
Yeah, and then for the time, then RE2 pushed it further, and then it just became a full-blown franchise.
Yeah, and then RE2 came and just absolutely obliterated the water.
Yeah.
And then RE3 sold still well, probably just as well as the first game. A little less, but together they sold 5 million.
Yeah, on the PlayStation alone. But yeah, it was just cool to see that growing up, seeing games that had more of the acting was also taken more seriously throughout the years with technology getting better. But it's just cool to kind of, I always think back to this was kind of one of the first games that really utilized that kind of voice acting. So I think that's why people still kind of,
I mean, Resident Evil is unique in the sense that time after time after time, they're so huge, but they're also so niche. It's kind of like a really weird area to be, but they have been so influential to so many other things along the way. And a lot of firsts happened in Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And then Resident Evil 4, a lot of firsts happened. And then Resident Evil 7, kind of not so much. But it was just, they're by far one of the most important video game franchises of all time. I would say probably top 10 most influential.
Oh, absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah. Obviously with your Marios and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just an amazing,
and
kind of blows my mind.
And whose voice is the first that you hear when that first game starts, and when you're in the game?
What a mention!
You. I think the first actual person you hear is Chris in the FMV, because he says Alpha Team was flying over. That's the first thing you hear in the FMV, and then as soon as the game starts, it's you, Pablo.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
Leading the way.
Happy to be of service.
Now.
Happy to be
now the real question is that Inez playing Jill?
Yeah. So, we want to ask you a couple more questions about the actual recording thing. I guess we'll kind of combine these two together. Right. Well, first I'll ask you this, because I think this is really interesting. You probably won't remember because it's been 25 years, but was there any lines that you recorded now that you've gone and listened to them that didn't make it in? Because there's a lot of cut lines that aren't in the game,
but they're recorded, and it's mostly Rebecca
and Barry. It's mostly Rebecca.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, did you record any lines do you remember saying anything? No.
No, I don't. No, I don't remember. Sorry.
There might not be.
But all the lines that when somebody gave me this line, there's a lot just short lines. Some of them longer. That would be from the game, right? That would be in there, right? He wouldn't have got it.
Unless for some reason they gave you other Wesker lines, but no, it's Wesker. No, he talks a lot.
It's all there.
Yeah,
he does, right?
Yeah, when he's there.
Right,
when he's there, definitely.
When he's there, yeah.
When he's there,
he's gone and then he comes back.
It's not right.
And then he talks.
Okay. So he's not in the game all the time, right?
No.
I see. Okay.
No.
Towards the end, he's there.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah. Towards the beginning, he's there.
At the beginning,
and then you kind of run into him a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. No, sorry, I don't remember recording any lines that this would be good. No, and that they didn't.
Okay.
Use,
yeah, and then I guess the final question for the whole cast process would be, obviously Sergio was your friend, but as far as and he helped you get the job and everything like that. But as far as your cast members go, your fellow cast members, did you become friends with any of them? I guess Clay, right? Because Clay is his brother. So I guess that
Clay and Sergio. Other people, no, Barry. I didn't meet Barry after that. Also, because I'm doing the sort of the modeling and acting thing, and they're concentrating on narrations, so they're in different auditions and no.
So what he's saying is he was handsome.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying. He's like, I was the handsome one. I was in the.
Just Sergio.
Yeah.
Just Sergio and Clay, like I say, and yeah, not Lynn. No, that's it. That's it.
And I'll throw you a wild card.
And just nice to have friends. Yeah.
I'll throw you a wild card one here, and then we'll move on to your personal questions.
Sure. Yeah.
Looking back and thinking about it, without saying anything about your newfound fame, right? During the entire audition process of Wesker and that whole journey, what would you say was your favorite memory? Your favorite part of it?
Oh, of the whole recording process, just being. Wow, good question. I think the honest answer is probably the best part was finding out that I actually got the role, right? Just that they entrusted me, because when I got this dialogue, and I could see this was no small production, because it was a thick piece of, I was going through, it was a big book, a transcript of all the lines of everybody, right? And I'm like, wow, I'm this Wesker guy, and it kind of dawned on me that, they're putting some trust, and I'd lived in Japan long enough to know the value of trust, because there's so many contracts that are done verbally, and just to know that they just trusted me to do this role. I thought, okay, I'll do my best, I'll do my best in this. And so getting there, you see the Japanese, obviously some of the Capcom guys in the back, they're always smoking a cigarette and sitting in some chair, and meeting Barry and a couple other people. But it was very quick hellos. We didn't waste much time. We got recording pretty quick, and but just I remember that part where Lynn is getting excited with Barry, and Barry all chunk. That was a highlight of. Because I thought, wow, the people are into this, and there's some kind of magic happening here that was different from the TV commercials where it's like, okay, take
the typical Hollywood stuff, booth, right? Right.
Yeah, this was like more where everybody's like, guys running around. This was like, we're only, maybe a dozen people here, and the Japanese are not involved. They're in the back, and it just felt quaint, and a little bit surreal that I was there, part of the whole recording process, and I really enjoyed that. And and then they said, okay, good though. Arigato, and then come out of the booth and, walk over and sit down and have a cup of coffee or something, and then go back again. Okay, Pablo-san, onegaishimasu, come back in record again.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, that's great to hear those little behind the scenes stuff, because not a lot of people, or like there's not a lot of that stuff that's like documented from back then, because it was like so new of a game, and like they didn't know, like, so it's just like hearing the stories that you guys have is like all we have to any kind of like, how the sauce is made, kind of, those little pieces of the puzzle. Even if it was simplistic or very, fast, it's still really cool to hear your experiences with that, for sure.
Yeah, it's a pleasure sharing. And it was a really good experience, and I could tell that they cared, like it felt a bit nerdy, actually, like, oh, let's try this, and then looking at the pages, and the Japanese are going through where are we now?
Yeah.
Script, Soka, Wesker-san. And they're like kind of looking, and they're following along, and you can tell that there's so much planning and organization behind this whole thing, and presumably the recording is towards the end of everything. I don't know, but it felt like this was towards the culmination of a very big project that they could tell it's coming into fruition.
Yeah,
and I could feel that energy in that.
That's awesome. So that's all we have for you as far as like Resident Evil related questions go. But I'd like to open it up to you to ask us any questions about any of that, if you have any. I know you were on the phone. You were like, oh, maybe I ask you guys some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like my son now, he plays games, headset, talking with friends while he's playing. When Resident Evil first came out, obviously there's no internet.
Yeah.
Right? This is, so how did you? What would be it? Would you be? Well, you were kind of young, but after school kind of thing, you'd get to go to somebody's house and just kind of hunker down in somebody's room and get together. Now everybody's like in their own pods and their headsets. So maybe you can maybe talk about the differences of playing a game like that now when it's so internet-y. To back then.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I guess I'll kick it off because I kind of have a very unique take on this. We grew up very similar, but we're different. Definitely different. I had a very much more solitude childhood, right? Like I was alone a lot, and that was by choice. I had friends that I could see if I wanted to. I had family. I had a really great one side of my family. Very welcoming. They always did parties and stuff. I never wanted to go anywhere. I just wanted to chill on my own, do my own thing, watch cartoons at night, watch cartoons in the morning, play video games in my free time. Hated school. I hated school. I felt like school was like jail. It was so bad because
that's basically what it is. Yeah.
It basically is now. Yeah, they keep you in there until you're 18 and they give you absolutely no direction in life at all. But that's besides the point. That's American school.
Right.
Over here.
Yeah, over here. I can't speak for other places, but I just remember I had a big CRT. I had like a 32-inch CRT, and they got a new TV for the living room. I had it in my bedroom, and I'd play my Nintendo 64 and my PlayStation on it. And I would come home from school, or if it would be summer, or if I just skipped school or whatever, I would, sit there and I'd plug it in, and that would be it. I would sit right on my wooden floor. You'd hear the startup, the Sony startup, and I would just play Resident Evil. And when I was younger, like really young,
you're sitting cross-legged
or laying,
on the floor and just
with my cat or my dog or whatever, I just sit there.
Are you looking?
Yeah,
up,
a little bit looking up.
Is the screen kind of thing?
Like you see in Hollywood movies. Like I was that kid back in the 90s. Like I'd just sit there and I'd play games. Yeah. It was probably like 98 when I got my own TV, like my own big TV. So I was 5, 6 at the time. 90.
No headsets.
No headsets. No headsets. And I would just blast it. I had the CRT, obviously had speakers and stuff. I would just blast it. Right. And you would just hear all the lines, and I would die all the time because I was still young. So like I couldn't never get past the Hunters when I was really small. It wasn't until I think I said 98 earlier, but I think it really wasn't until 99 when I beat that game because I was just turning 6 because I was 7 in 2000. And I feel like I just finally was able to beat it because I threw myself at the wall for 2 years. I would play the game until halfway, and that's when the new monsters, the Hunters, would come, and they're really difficult. I'd play the game halfway and then just start over and just keep going until one day I was like, I'm going to try to kill them. And then I just got all the way through the game.
Mm-hmm. Did people, sort of coach you as to how to get through?
No. My parents were very... my stepdad was the one who kind of introduced us to the games for the most part. And I specifically remember, which is a virtue I carry to this day. One of the very important lessons I learned from him, which I did learn a few lessons. But he would always tell me, and I still tell this to people today, if you want to get good at a video game, because I loved Mortal Kombat too. If you want to get good, you have to get your ass kicked and get back up. And number 2 is you got to figure it out on your own. If somebody just teaches you what to do, you're never going to naturally inherit the skill. Yeah. You're just going to do exactly what you're told and get through the easy way. So I would slam my head against the wall playing that game. And Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 is my favorite, but I would slam my head against the wall. Same thing with Ocarina of Time. That game's huge.
Yeah, I think that's why guidebooks were also a big thing because with my house it was like my dad would always buy the guidebooks with the game because he would get stuck and he wasn't the best at them either. So I would try to copy what he was doing and stuff like that. But for me, it was like we would have a big TV room and it was this old CRT, but it was almost in a cabinet. And it had the speakers on the bottom, and it was really old. It was boxy, and that was
I remember them.
And I would just sit on the floor and just hook up the PS1 and just try to play it over. And I wasn't that good at it. Again, it was a trial and error thing, same thing where you took a while, and then I got into Resident Evil 3.
Turn it off.
Right, Resident Evil 3 had the easy mode, so I was I gravitated towards that, and that became my favorite Resident Evil of all time. But I went back and Really, it was just like, you know, a lot of video store trips, like renting games with friends and playing games with the family and with my brother too.
Rent a game.
Yeah,
Blockbuster.
yeah. Hometown Video for me
Hometown
was
Video,
it was more of a local mom and pop chain that was around here in this town, and I think that was the big thing because we couldn't always afford games every single week, so you would go out and rent it for a couple nights and it'd be a couple dollars and you would check it out. So I think it was like a combination of playing them on my own time, but with like my family and my friends like after school and stuff like that, and being like, hey, do you have
but
this?
It sounded like a solo experience as well.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because right now you have the headsets and you're playing with other friends, but you're alone.
Yeah.
And it sounded like you were,
Yeah.
John, playing by yourself, and you were playing by yourself too. Like you didn't huddle with others.
Right.
Because you couldn't, I guess. You couldn't be too
No,
close.
not in Resident
Right.
Evil.
It would be later, like when there was like
Yeah.
multiplayer games and stuff, and when consoles got more advanced, it seems like that's when it started to be like more people were involved in the process. When like the online stuff started to come around, it became more like of that bubble thing. But the couch co-op thing, I always still like to try to get, like even nowadays, to get people over and just to be like, hey, let's try to play a 4-player game in person. You know, it's different.
Yeah.
But it's because everyone's used to just like jumping in a lobby and stuff like that. But I feel like having that difference, like even nowadays, I still like playing games like
Together.
offline, or together and offline too. I still like
That's what I
having
mean,
that
like
piece.
together, like offline.
Right. I like having that piece of like, sometimes I don't have to worry about a chat room, or I don't have to worry about content. I can just play by myself and just like really like put headphones on and really get immersed in the experience. So I think some of that kind of bleeds in from the childhood a little bit of like having that balance.
Well, what I was also going to say was, and this is a little bit of a hot take because of everything that's kind of evolved over the years. I actually, looking back, I almost preferred that style of gaming because before the internet, because the internet, a lot of people say the internet ruined everything. I don't think it ruined everything, but I do think the internet stripped the magic away. Because like guidebooks are gone.
You can look up a solution in 30 seconds.
You can look up a solution.
On your phone.
You never have to figure anything out. A lot of gamers these days, you know, call them what you will, casuals, schleps, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? But like, if they get stuck on something, it's immediately phone. How do I blah 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 blah? You didn't have that back then.
Oh,
you didn't have any of that.
Right.
Unless your buddy knew a trick, or
Unless
knew
your
a
buddy,
hint.
or you bought the code books and you had like the Game Shark and stuff.
Right. Yeah,
like,
so you worked harder.
You worked harder, and you
harder.
enjoyed it more because you were more
fulfilling.
immersed.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. You felt like you accomplished.
It takes a real
definitely accomplished.
Yeah, it takes a real effort these days to remove yourself from spoilers, movie other people's opinions, how to do this, how to do that. And now that that's a big social norm, you know, you can't even, nobody wants to struggle with a video game. Like if we live stream and it's new to us and it's like something that, you know, it's a puzzle. Like we love puzzles, right? Because that's the old style of video game. Resident Evil had puzzles, everything. So like when we get to a puzzle and we're kind of looking at it and we're trying to solve it, in our live chat, you bet the answer's there like 500 times because people don't want to see people struggle. They want to prove that they know the game better than you. So it's like, or they want to be helpful.
That's not
They
good
wanna
at
be
all.
Or they want to be helpful.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's like they have good intentions,
Right.
but then it's kind of like backseat gaming. So you're like, all right, guys, let's try to figure this out on our. So we'll just kind of like the chat will be there, but we'll kind of like look
But like
off and
not look at it. Yeah.
and wait till we finish it. You know.
So
Yeah, that perseverance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you're, and plus you feel like you're kind of doing your stepdad sort of injustice by cheating. Right?
exactly,
Like you probably see his face. You see his face. You're going like, I'm not.
yeah, I mean,
I don't
he's
wanna do
also
it, you
a
know,
filthy
like,
looker upper now, but that is his
I
old
see
age.
you looking it up on the phone over
Yeah,
there.
I see you, and then he'll just be like, "Bite me."
That's
But
great.
yeah, like
That's great.
we come from. I don't want to say just me, but like we come from the era when like the back of the booklets would have a notes section, and you would write down things to remember when you would go back to them.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, obviously with Resident Evil, we've memorized almost every puzzle.
I always
ever.
like buying like if you buy like an old like retro game or a guide, and then it was someone's previously owned, so you turn it, you just see like their puzzle solutions in the back, or
like the RE1
stuff
manual
that they wrote.
we found.
Yeah.
We found an RE1 manual at a local game store.
Oh,
We flipped to the back.
how about
It
that?
was all the puzzle solutions, the V-Jolt,
Oh.
everything. It was all of it, and it's like
Right.
it just
That's very
takes you
cool,
back
right?
to '96 when
Right.
that was like
Somebody else is doing the same
Yeah.
thing, like just really getting into it and Perseverance.
Do you play games at all?
I don't.
I think it's never too late to start.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, I mean, I played as. Actually, I remember watching you. You talked about like sort of puzzle games. I remember Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, that's one of them. The Ocarina of Time I was talking about earlier. Yeah.
Right. My sister used to play that game. She really, really was good at it. I used to enjoy watching her play. I'd come in and she had a TV in her room and she'd play it, and I really enjoy that. But do I play games now? Not no. But I would.
If you like Japanese swords and you like Japanese culture, you need to play Ghost of Tsushima.
Well, I'd like to There's a lot of games with swords.
Well, that's like the most accurate samurai fantasy I've ever seen. It's really good. It's called Ghost of Tsushima.
Tsushima.
Yeah.
So Tsushima. That's hilarious. I'd love to, and maybe one day this could happen. I'd like to see, because I'm dealing in Japanese swords, an actual sword, from 1600s or 1300s or something, in a game. Like somebody can say, I'm using this sword and I know everything about it because, Unique Japan, Pablo told me about it, and I bought this sword, and now because I own it, I can now put it in this game, and I'm the only guy that actually owns the real thing, and I don't know. There's something.
Hey,
there. I will see.
That sounds like a YouTube channel in the making.
Yeah, seriously.
About. Like video games obviously go ham, like with the like every game has a Masamune, like, and every game has Excalibur.
Right.
But Ghost of Tsushima or they say it like 4 different ways in the game.
Is it TSU?
It's TSU, like
Tsushima?
Su. Like that's how I pronounce Su, like Suton, like water style.
Yeah, Tsushima.
Yeah, Tsushima.
Okay. Yeah.
But they've got swords obviously based on legends and stuff like that in there, and there is like obviously it's not super hyper realistic, but it's a really cool game. It's
all right.
Yeah.
I might.
It's
be fun to see, like, because Lexonal, he likes to, obviously game and if I can play with him and enjoy it with him,
that would make for some
record that.
Yeah,
well, that was what I was going to say.
For sure.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say to you. If you ever wanted to introduce gaming into your life, playing with your son's a good way. Playing with family, like getting family games and stuff, is a really good thing. Because
because he's not as. I mean, he still plays sports.
I'm sure he'll probably kick your ass.
Yeah, of course, and that's totally fine. And I'll be doing whatever you call me, schlepping, looking for.
You'll be like, you'll pause the game. He'll be like, "Dad, what are you doing?" And you'll just look at him and go,
"I'm looking up this combination."
While he's in school, I've got like 7-8
practicing.
Hours of practice.
There's a skit on that.
Do you want to play that game?
Isn't there a skit on that? Where the kid beats his dad every day,
actually.
And then so he starts practicing in secret while he's at school, and then it just cuts to I think I want to say it was Comedy Central or something, but it cuts to like a shot of the dad just smirking like this, and his kid's running away screaming and crying, and he's like,
I got him this time.
I remember my dad actually bought that hockey game, the hockey game where you're pulling these.
Yeah.
You twist the knobs and stuff.
Not air hockey. What's it called?
Twisted knobs,
it's like foosball, but
there's
it's
no
like
dome.
Rink.
I forget what it is.
Yeah, there's a ring.
Yeah.
It might be.
And you're like, you're pulling the bars and stuff, but the bubble was like a little bit later. At the beginning, the puck would fly off the thing all the time, and I used to just destroy my dad all the time. Like I used to just love it because you're just spinning that guy, left
You gotta have
wing.
the fast reflexes.
The Montreal Canadiens. I'm from Montreal, so it's like all the Montreal Canadiens, and we actually had Canadian teams, but he beat me on Christmas Eve. I remember our Christmas day.
No.
He actually beat me, and I just you mentioned running away, I remember just being so distraught. I was 7 or 8, and just I cannot believe I lost to my dad. Really upset, but it would actually be kind of good. Sort of bonding sessions between Lennon, Lexonal and I when playing games. It's kind of
Yeah,
fun.
absolutely.
Yeah, we enjoyed it. He's a good kid. It's kind of fun.
Well, like you kicked your dad's
to discover
ass,
them,
it's time for him to kick yours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
exactly.
Now,
pay it forward.
yeah,
right? Pay it forward.
I now kind of going into like another like personal question is, do you remember when you first fell in love with Japanese culture?
Japanese culture, first time.
Or is it just swords? We weren't really sure.
No. Swords came way later. I had a good friend in high school. Her name Bunny Tanaka. So a shout out to Bunny Tanaka. And Tanaka, you might recognize that being a Japanese name. So her father was Japanese. And she, on my 16th birthday, she took me to Sakura Garden. She's going to be happy that I remembered. Sakura Garden was the restaurant. It was a Japanese restaurant. I'd never had Japanese food until that time. Didn't know anything about Japanese culture, like zero, and I had seaweed and some sashimi to start with, and I remember having this rubbery seaweed and going like, wow, like this is just, I mean, it tastes good and it shouldn't taste good. It tastes good, but the feeling in the mouth, and
that
I
exact
thought, wow,
feeling.
There was something about how ingenious to do this with food, and the whole ambiance. I saw fish, and of course there were, some koi swimming around in tanks and stuff. I don't think they used them as food, but there's their decoration. But it was just the whole Japanese
aura
culture was sort of encapsulated in that restaurant. And there were only like 2 or 3 Japanese restaurants in Montreal at the time, and I think maybe even today there's obviously more, but it was kind of a niche thing, right? This is 1987, right? So that was the first time I got to know a little bit about Japanese culture, I guess, through food, and then in the university when one of my friends said, what are you doing after graduation and stuff, and I said I'm not even sure, and so maybe you should go to Japan. I think you can teach English there. I heard you can do pretty well. And my first thought was like, well, I know I like the food. And knowing Bunny and meeting her dad. Her dad was a big baseball fan too. Like listening to the game. So he would sometimes even dress in like kind of baseball style uniform. Even like he was really different. He took the bus. He was the only guy I knew that took the bus. Like he didn't take it. Like he's taking the bus in Canada. Taking the bus, I mean that's serious, So that was really interesting, and so it was through her that she just kind of opened up, and then when I moved to Japan, she had not actually traveled to Japan, I don't think, and so when I moved there in '93, she came to visit me in '94, '95, something like that, and maybe a bit later than that, but anyway, she came to visit, and it was just great to just going around Tokyo, taking her on my scooter, and discovering Japan with her, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, just a good friend. Chris is a great friend of mine, and but it was through Bunny that I got to know Japan, and then fell in love with the culture, and have remained, God, every day something Japanese, right? I mean, I have staff there. I have it's all there, So I'm dealing with Japan every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
That's kind of cool to hear that, like, and that you were also able to kind of experience, like, once you were there, to experience it with the person that kind of opened the door up a little bit. Like that's kind of cool that you had that too, like really to take everything in and and then to be working there.
She hadn't been there before, right? Yeah, she hadn't been.
Oh,
there,
wow.
Because her father had talked about Japan and she never traveled. Dad was actually kind of a little bit scared of the whole earthquake thing. He thought for sure an earthquake was coming.
Yeah.
Because in Japan, every 100 years, there's some big earthquake, right? And he thought, oh, it's coming. And every year, he said that for 60 years in Canada. He said it never really. Kobe came in 95, and I experienced a big earthquake in 2011, which was no picnic. That was rough. It was rough. Yeah.
As far as like collecting, do you collect anything of the Japanese culture? Obviously, you might have sword collection, or do you have anything that you particularly collect?
That is the number one thing I collect is Japanese swords. I was never a collector growing up. I mean, I tried, stamps, and even Bunny. She was a big comic book and she loved stationery. I mean, I don't know whether she's half Japanese, but it's like that. It's in their DNA. This stationery and cute stuff, and it's just weird. Like it's there, even though she grew up in Canada. She just had that, you know. But I didn't really collect many things until I discovered Japanese swords, and like I had been living in Japan for 15 plus years when I finally discovered swords in 2007 or 8 or something like that. And all my time that I had worked in Japan, it was just like everything began to make sense. You know, the teamwork, because the Japanese sword is not made by one. You hear Masamune, right? So you think, oh, it's Masamune's sword, but actually, Masamune is forging the sword, but somebody else is polishing the sword, and somebody else is making a scabbard for the sword, and somebody else is making a tsuba. This is a tsuba. This is a guard.
Oh wow!
That protects your hands. You know, like when you're. Like I have a tsuba on my desk, but that this is a guard that protects your hands so that the blade doesn't, so your hands don't slip up to the cutting edge, right? So, but there's a craftsman for each one of these items, right? Yeah. So that whole So anyway, just collecting Japanese swords is that is where I'm at, and thankfully I have a business that other people find them equally as important and sacred and a kind of an ethos on how to live.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, talk about that a little bit. Like, what's going on with your business in Japan?
Yeah. You said that you started a business when you went there, or?
So I started, going back to 97, I've done the modeling, acting thing, and I'm like, okay, I got to figure out what sort of career, quote unquote, I should do. So I went back to Canada and I studied, and I saw this internet publishing for the World Wide Web, and I saw this article in like an adult ed sort of type of situation. So I studied HTML and I started building websites, and I built actually the first sort of modeling recruiting website in Japan and online, and I was recruiting. I was working with an agency in Japan and helping to get girls and guys but mainly girls because there's more work for women, to work with, in Japan. So I just put up this website, and people were filling out the forms, and it was, this guy couldn't believe it. Like, he's like, where are these girls coming? Like, where, how, like, what's going on here? I said, it's online, it's there, So I just on the basis of that sort of success, I decided to go to Japan in 98, end of 98. So 97, 98, I went back to Canada, studied the web and Photoshop and so on and so forth. And I just said, okay, I'm going to start a business called March 4th and build bilingual websites in Japan. And I did that just going after big companies that needed to have a presence online. And we wanted to make a site that was not so Japanesey. Like, everything was so... And it's still to this day, if you go to Japanese websites, even I'm sure certain games as well, they're very cartoony, very bright colors, and everybody, doing these, just not very pro. So we wanted to bring a kind of, Western edge. So I had a designer from Malta, and I had designers from the States, and we're all this foreign group building bilingual sites, to kind of give their presence online a real sort of Western edge. And so we were doing something very different from all the other Japanese agencies. And so from 98 to, into the 2000s, and we really, Nissans and Mitsui Busans and Sonys, we were building websites for big companies. But then I just I got bored of just always building for somebody else, and I said, like, we got to do something else, and let's do something for us. So we built Unique Japan. My wife and I, we both loved Japanese crafts, and so we built a website that wanted to help all the craftsmen sell their goods internationally, right? So whether it was dolls or chopsticks or kitchen knives, we made Unique Japan, and that's how that business spawned. And then we would then be invited. We were invited to go to a U.S. military base to sell some of these goods, right? Because there's a lot of military. A lot of people don't realize there's about 100,000 U.S. Servicemen and women over in Japan defending. Because after the World War, there's not allowed to have their own sort of aggressive forces, right? So they're all there in Japan, and they're looking for souvenirs, right? So I had all these kitchen knives set up with dolls and a Daruma doll. This is one of these dolls that I was selling, like a little Daruma doll.
Oh, nice.
And it's kind of a little wishing doll and stuff. And anyway, you wouldn't. It's kind of obvious now when I think about it, but all the U.S. military going after kitchen knives, just like beeline towards kitchen knives. And I'd talk about the samurai sword background of the kitchen knives, and then they'd say, dude, can you find me a samurai sword here while I'm in Japan? And I really thought they were joking. I said, what do you mean I'm going to find a sword in Japan? I didn't even know it could exist, and then not just some trinkety fake. They wanted a real thing. And so I looked into it. Long story short, we started selling a lot of swords to U.S. military pilots, Navy pilots and doctors. And then that's how the business, and then I just went from website design building to just full on representing Japanese swords. And then, talk about niche. I know I really respect the fact that you guys are going after a niche market as well, but you want to dominate that. You want to do the same thing. You find something you're passionate about. I know it's very cliche to say that, but I mean, I got so into Japanese swords, and people could feel that this guy had lived there and learned about it and wants to now find homes for these swords, and that's what I've been doing for more than 10 years now, and just to clients around the world, and so that's it. Unique Japan is all about samurai swords, and still selling some crafts, but we just focused really on that.
Wow.
Right now.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like 13, holding a sword from like 1200s, 1300s. It's like just crazy.
Yeah.
It's great, and how good the conditions are. Some of these swords, like it's kind of. Anyway, if you have time, take a look at some of the catalogs that we've built.
Oh yeah, and we'll link it too down below, so you guys can also check that out that are watching. And
yeah, be great.
That's just cool to like have something like that, like that passion, and it kind of grows organically. And like you said, like really trying to push on like that market, even though it's like a niche thing. Like it's, again, it works both ways, whether it's with swords or with the RE content. It's like really just like trying to stay consistent, because you and put all the passion and love into it, because you do have so much for that one thing or the one kind of art or craft or whatever it may be. But yeah, like it's just like constantly sticking with it and not getting discouraged along the way, and not I think that's a good message,
and just listening to your fans, right? Listening to the people and what they're looking for, and tweaking it so that, okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I like that idea too. And so you just being open, like not being so rigid, and just, kind of, I think Steve Jobs had this one really good quote in some address that he had done at university, where he said you kind of connect the dots, like after your life, after a series of years, you can then begin to connect the dots backwards, and when you do what feels right, and you guys will do the same thing, just do what feels right, and you'll, and work hard, have integrity.
Yeah.
I think your dad taught you well with that whole perseverance. Don't let somebody just teach you how to do it.
Yeah.
I actually got upset a little bit when you told me that guys are like, they want to see somebody struggle. I mean, I think part of life is to struggle. And we all know that. Even child labor, for example. I know it sounds like a weird segue, but like even women, Japanese women for the most part go through labor without any epidural or anything like that. Almost 100%. They will do it naturally, right? And you don't see those kind of numbers anywhere else, But that idea that you're persevering, going through it, even just at the very start of human life, and then you don't want to cut that out, You want to, when things are tough, that's a sign that you got to kind of rise above that and go for it, And not to just, oh no, you don't. I feel bad that you're struggling there. Let me show you how to do that. It's like, no, you say, like, it's like your kid. Once you have kids, you'll start seeing like they're trying to struggle putting on their shoes, and you feel bad because the guy's he just hates putting on his shoes, but he has to do it, like it, just watch him do it, and then they learn and they grow, and those little problems become, he can handle bigger problems, and so that you don't want to encourage people just like to take the shortcuts in almost anything. It's just inevitably long term that's just going to bite you.
Absolutely, man. That's a true point right there.
Yeah, 100%. I 100% agree. I try to live like that, like I try to make sure that I'm working for the things that I'm getting.
Yeah, it's sort of accountability,
Yeah,
like just taking responsibility.
Yeah,
you guys screw up on something, I screw up on something, it's okay.
Yeah.
take responsibility. And that was a big thing in Japan too, right? There's no blame game going on there. Oh no, he did that. Oh, no. It's like, no way, you know? I mean, the whole seppuku, you know, taking responsibility, right? Taking your own life. I mean, you see it right there in the samurai. That is like, it's my mistake, you know? And they'll pay the biggest price, and they'll do it to themselves, you know, with a sword. It's crazy. But that ethos is that whole service angle that when I was building those websites, and then taking that and then helping my clients and serving them like I had to serve Japanese. Wow, that is one serious like lesson that you said you didn't like going to school, like you hated school. That's like real life school stuff, right? That was so valuable. Like dealing with Japanese and serving Japanese are like, whoa, the hardest clients. But if you just do like 10% of the effort into anywhere else in the world, you're ahead of the game. Yeah, they really have a high level. So when you're going to Japan, you'll see anybody will tell you go to a hotel or the trains are always on time, which is everything's expected to run well. If not, you're being slack, and there's no excuse for it, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Do you want to do?
Sure. Well, I was gonna say, how many swords do you own?
Well, ones that are really close to me. Well, 8 maybe.
And what's your favorite one?
My favorite one is, well, apart from the first sword.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, the first sword that is going to go to Hannah was probably my second sword. It's a Konami no Hira sword, Ubu. I'm going to talk sword talk now, but like it's a sword from down in Kyushu. It was made in the late 1100s.
Oh, wow.
And it hasn't been shortened, and it's just got this beautiful presence to it. And it's in Japan right now. Actually, I have it there. I'm going to build some fittings around it. That's a sword that's very close to me because, okay, here's the story. I was serving a lot of U.S. military bases, and Nami no Hira means to sail on calm seas. That's what Nami is wave, and Hira means flat. You know, so it's a kind of sail on calm seas. So a lot of Navy pilots love this idea, or you know, just the idea of getting a sword coming from this school that has such a positive omen, right? Well, the Nami no Hira school, you know, stretched from the 1100s all the way to 1800s. And so I told one sort of contact, like, anytime you get anything from like Nami no Hira, let me know, and I will probably buy it, right? And so he found this Nami no Hira from the 1500s and then 1400s and 16, whatever. And then he finds one from the 1100s, and that never ever made it to the settling block. That was when he showed that to me, and I was
You're like, I need this.
This has to be. I remember seeing him, you know, meeting him in person and saying, Pablo-san, you know, and I just was kind of blown away. I mean, I saw the sword pictures when I was here in the UK, and I flew over to see it in person, and so that sword means a lot to me because of you know, the connection of the person who introduced it to me and said, and even he said, I've been doing swords 50 years. I've only seen this kind of sword twice.
And once you hear that, you're like, okay, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, you know? it's a no-brainer, but it's also, I know it is, and it's not. It goes beyond financial. It's more like, I'm going to keep this, and this is going to
put it in a nice
Lexonal,
nice display, and like really like give it the care, right? Like.
Yeah, display is possible. At the same time, a lot of Japanese will just keep it kind of quiet, you know, put it in a closet and take it out when it's maybe kids in bed, and you have it. You know, you don't have to parade it.
Interesting.
For some, you can. A lot of my clients display, and that's totally fine. If you have kids around it, it makes it more difficult.
Right.
But I'm more in because Japanese homes don't have big spaces, right? So a lot of them will keep their swords in sort of
or tuck it away,
cabinet, or
and then they'll move this and they'll move things away at nighttime. You know, like the futon, right? You've heard about the futon and the space-saving techniques that Japanese have. You know, so it's a very quiet and very personal thing, Japanese swords. You know, and that's really close. That's a close sword to me. Yeah, a few other good blades as well, but that's
really awesome.
That is one that always has a personal story to it. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no problem. Before we get into the rapid fire round, which is a special rapid fire round where we're going to ask you questions and you're going to give us one-word answers.
They're easy.
They're really easy.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But
great.
I'm going to give the floor to you one more time. Do you have any other questions that you want to ask me and Anthony, that you might have thought of, or maybe you've got tucked away in the can?
Yeah, I mean, like, what's your sort of 5-year plan, maybe? I mean, 5 years is a long time. How about 3 years? Let's just say 5 is a long time, but 3 years. What are your sort of plans to expand? Would you keep with Resident Evil? You won't go into other games? If that's a too hard of a question?
No, I think 3 years. I think that's we kind of experimented with opening up another channel where we can play other games, and so I think like that might come around the corner when the time's right. But I think right now our focus is just to try to grow this channel and try to adapt with the new stuff of Resident Evil that's coming out, like try to cover that and really try to make definitive videos and podcasts, really try to up the production and up the consistency and just really shift focus on that. And then I'm on my other channel that I have on my personal time is like my filmmaking stuff, so I want to also become a better filmmaker within 3 years, just a better content creator on all fronts. So whether it's this channel or that, it's just like really trying to learn from him learn from me, like us learn from experiences. And sometimes if again, like it's all about the whole process of some stuff will work, some stuff won't work. You can see what happens or listen to the fans. So just really try to grow, just really try to keep growing, staying consistent, and just like have fun with it. Don't let this like burn us out. Do it to where we have enough and we know when to pull away, to keep it refreshing, keep it fun. Because the minute we're not having fun and we're not genuine is the minute we stop. We have to, because people can see right through that, and it's like, so I think that's really the big thing, is just to stay on it and just stay happy while doing it.
I know you said 5 and then backpedal to 3, but I'm going to answer the 5-year plan. So 2025, let's just say, right? So which is really 4 years. So we'll say 2026. You're starting Inocula, right? Like obviously it's already there, but you were focusing more on your short films and stuff. I can't speak to that because that's like your stuff, right? Me personally, I want us to be the #1 Resident Evil YouTube channel on YouTube.
That's always been our like main goal behind the back of our head, of like, let's try to use that as motivation to kind of fuel the fire.
And I don't think I want it. I know we'll be there. Number 2, I'm starting my own little side project as well, because I'm super big into Pokemon. So I'd like, like to be that, I'd like to rekindle and help the future generation kind of fall in love with the franchise that I fell in love with. So between Let's Talk Resident Evil and my Pokemon channel, I kind of want to celebrate my 2 favorite franchises of all time and inspire others to get into them, because they mean a lot to me, and they kind of have been where I've always wanted to be. So I'd like to get that channel in 5 years to 100,000 subscribers. I'd like to get us to the highest non-Resident Evil, obviously official channel, but if we could beat them even, that'd be great.
So that's the markers, right? I mean, when you say the #1 would be like just a number of fans, I suppose.
Raw subscriber count. And I want to be the #1 podcast. And, as far as what we offer to our guests and what we offer to each other and what we offer to just our thoughts. And we've got a lot of very interesting projects coming out. We've got deep dive podcasts coming out soon. We just wrapped up, Code Veronica. We're getting ready to start recording those shows.
The writing session for that has been probably the most extensive we've ever.
Yeah, and I don't think there's nothing like it on YouTube, and I think it's pretty cool. And as always, we stay genuine. We'll always continue to be genuine to our fans, whether they like that or dislike that. There's been a lot of times, where the correct thing to do is to just act like it's good, but we'll still say it's bad.
And that might be good for the algorithm, but sometimes you have to be, you can't half-ass it, or again, fake your reaction. You don't like something, you don't like something, even if it's in a franchise that you love.
Authenticity is important. That's what matters.
Within 5 years, I would like our channel to get big enough and for us to carry enough pull to get in front of Capcom, so we can help them fix the problems with their franchise.
We know they would never,
and there are
right,
problems.
There
right?
are. We know they will never actually turn to gamers like us
No.
because there's.
But
always
we can get there through
people
other
in
avenues
suits and other things.
You know,
but yeah, it's not impossible.
And even if it's not directly working on the films and the movies and the games and all this stuff, like even if it's just to have an audience, just to have an interview, just to talk to the people who are making them, you know, and then a personal dream of mine. If we can get the entire voice cast together before unfortunate things happen to some of them, I would like to do a mega podcast with the entire original cast in one go.
Oh,
I'd like to have the original Jill, Chris, Barry, Wesker, Rebecca.
We'd have to find Jill,
Enrico, Richard, everybody in one call.
I think didn't one of them die? I think Chris.
Yeah, Chris did. Yeah, so we might not be able. That's what I'm saying. Like the among the living.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it's going to be hard to find. It's going to be hard to make that happen.
That's tough. Well, I'll do what I can to kind of help maybe find some people and.
That would be
we
awesome.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, because there's just a lot, like stuff like this. Like even this show is like it's a dream come true to be able to talk to someone that's like again been
such a big part of the childhood.
Just a big part of just everything and gaming and just like being able to do these are still kind of unreal. Like when we're editing them too, I'm just gonna be like, wow, this really did happen. Okay, like it's sometimes you kind of have to pinch myself a little bit because it means a lot to us. Exactly, just like. Being able to do this.
Well, it means lots to me.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that you have enjoyed the podcast so far.
Yeah,
and the hangout.
Yeah, it's been terrific. It's been terrific. I have one more question.
Sure.
Actually, while you're talking, I'm a little bit concerned about this actually as a dad, but the whole virtual reality stuff. Like the games, like I see my son playing like Roblox and stuff, and it looks like what I played. Like very pixelated. It looks gamey, right? Like the old game style, and I kind of liked it because you feel like that's not quote unquote real, but things are getting hyper
photorealistic.
And we're moving into a zone where people are going to, I don't know, like lose themselves completely. I mean, you already lost yourself in a way when you were playing those games as a kid. But does any of that sort of worry you that you're getting into the goggles, into parts unknown where people are going to want to just like escape, too much escapism?
It's a good question too. Man.
There is an anime called Sword Art Online where the entire premise of the anime is there is a virtual MMO using a nerve gear, which is it's a virtual headset that you put on that actually disconnects your nerves from your body and sends you to the game, so you can control your body in the game like it's really your body, and while your body in the real world is motionless and doesn't like flail around and stuff. And I think we will get there relatively faster than a lot of people think. However, the reason why you wouldn't want that is because the whole point of the game is the guy who created it turns out to be a villain. Nobody can log out, and if you die in the game, you die in real life. Because the nerve gear will just kill you.
That's a great concept. I didn't even know about that shit.
Yeah,
well, I heard about it, but like,
that's
really
he basically, everybody logs in. I know this is a Resident Evil podcast, so we're talking about anime, but it's just relevant. Everybody logs in, and he basically brings everybody to one point and says, "Hey, I'm TLDRing." He's like, "Hey, you'll notice that there's no log out button. This is not a glitch. I am Akiko Kayaba or whatever his name is." He's like, I invented this game to really test the limits of like who people really are. If you die in the game, you die in real life. If you beat the game, everybody's released."
Yeah, I mean,
and they just start one by one. It's like 1 month. 1 month later, like it's like it's crazy, bro. Like 2,000 people die in a month. It's
jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is like VR for me, like I can only play it for so long, and then I have to take a break because it's a little bit like I get either headaches or I just get like I don't know what it is, but like so. I think like it's going to be going in that direction where a lot of people want to play VR, but I also think VR is still very limiting, and but it's also limiting too to like an overall game experience because you're in it, but like the wands are very awkward and like it doesn't feel like a game. Like I like holding a controller, and you could still hold a controller and be in VR and play it like that, but like I don't know, I just like looking at a TV. I personally don't like looking through a goggles. That's just me.
Like I said, until the nerve gear, when when you
control.
control,
it's going to make it all. These are all problems that are going to
because we already have like think about this, and somebody in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure for almost a decade now, we have prosthetic limbs that you can think about moving your fingers and they'll move. So if they can invent a headset that allows you to think about what you want to do in the game and the game can just do it. I mean, am I scared as far as like wireless signals and cancer and all that stuff go? I mean,
no, not that's, I mean, that's
your
legitimate
cell phones, you know, like it's this technology.
Sure.
As technology has gotten crazier, it's crazier. But you know, VR technology is going to be the way of the future, man. People are going to learn combat skills in VR. They already do. They're going to learn, you know, when driving simulators can become real driving simulators and you actually get the real feeling instead of like video games are going to be used for more than just entertainment, and the concepts of what makes a video game what it is going to be used for, and it already is being used for more than it already is. I like the photorealism in certain things, but I've always leaned more towards like a better art direction than just it looking as real as possible.
That sort of balance of as you said, sort of you feel the artistic creativity as opposed to
exactly.
Recreation.
Like you can have a game like Resident Evil Remake 2, which is like one of the most beautiful games ever released, and the mocap and all the technology they have to make those characters' faces move and stuff, like it looks crazy, but I still would argue, maybe not Remake 2 because that's a really good example, but I would still argue like a game like Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess does look more realistic, but it's not as good as Wind Waker art direction wise. Even though Wind Waker is cartoony and cel shaded, it's still the world that it is just feels more like everything belongs. When you get like really photorealistic, and this is something we've talked about with Resident Evil 2 and 3 and Village and even 7.
Yeah, we have.
The more realistic that you get, the more people expect out of the game. So like if somebody delivers a line a little bit wrong, it's like that was bad.
It throws it off.
Instead of it being like just decent, it becomes awful. Because like or if like if a face is moving,
everything has to be
if a face is moving the wrong way, it's 10 times worse when it's photorealistic than when it's a cartoon. Because you go in with a preconceived notion of this game needs to look just like real life, because the closer they push to reality, the more you want things to, like, for example, the Resident Evil 2 remake cheeseburger. The game looks so realistic, and then he puts the cheeseburger down, it looks like Play-Doh. Because if the character looks realistic, you need the cheeseburger to look realistic for the art direction to match. And some things are even worse than that.
Right, and a lot of people aren't just designing for VR either, so it's like there's a lot of like, I wonder where that's going to go.
VR is going to come back in a nasty way. Like it's going to come back and it's going to be, I mean, it's never really gone away, but it's going to come back and be incredible.
Right.
And they're going to solve the problems with motion sickness and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm still
for sure. That's the thing. That's what I think that's what I'm concerned about.
That's the thing.
It's like I don't want to go out there. I want to go here. I want to just stay here.
Yep.
You know, like
well,
we're experiencing all this lockdown stuff, and it's like you know, well, why not? I'm not going to not.
They're already doing that with the sports tickets. You can put a VR headset on and watch a sporting event from the VR headset that they have.
Yeah, they're starting to do that. Yeah, where you can be like front
if you want to see a movie that explores that, you should go watch Ready Player One. It explores a futuristic VR kind of.
Yeah, it came out a couple years ago, I think. Yeah.
And
then what would you say to that? About the VR stuff?
Oh no, I was just gonna say like even if they do fix some of those things, like I still always just like the normal way of playing games, like looking at a screen. I don't know, like I guess that's just kind of how I'll probably be that stubborn older person when I'm older and be like, no, I like it this way, you know. But because it might get to a point where that is the norm. Where right now it's kind of just like still, it's breaking in, but it's still kind of breaking into that whole like market of people that are able to afford it, because like the Oculus can be expensive, and then there's just PSVR for consoles. So I wonder where the consoles are going to adapt to it and how the PC market is going to adapt to it too. You know, that's going to be a very interesting couple of years for the generation shift. You know what I mean? Kind of see where
I think VR is going to take a little bit. Like because the problems that they need to solve are pretty big.
Yeah.
So like I do think the PSVR 2 will come out. I think the PS5 will.
It's definitely
going to
come out. You know, just don't know how many games are going to be supported on it long enough to make it.
I
great on
still
a console.
think VR is only going to be solved if like the big electronic companies come together,
because it's too big on PC right now.
Yeah.
Like because that's
Yeah.
you're literally
you
have,
need the power of a PC.
Yeah, and it's limitless.
So until Microsoft decides to try, because they just haven't been
right.
until they really go and put the money into it, that will really push VR, because like Sony can do it.
That's true, but
So
also,
can Microsoft, but neither of them are like really trying to solve the problems.
Right.
And Oculus is just cashing a check. So
Right.
it's like,
But it's also on PC, so it has free reign on Windows
Exactly,
software. So it's like
exactly.
it's a little bit more versatile than just being like, well, you get this $20 game that isn't really a full game, and you could beat it in like a day. That's not really good.
no.
You know,
it's
and that's
not.
what a lot of VR games are when you buy them on console. No, it's not so much PC.
Yeah.
But you know, I rest
And
my
there are
case on
cool
VR.
experiences, like
Yeah.
Resident Evil 7 VR was a cool experience. It did not look good. Like
No.
it still looked bad
Oh, I
because
see.
like it's not at that level yet. But it's
Right. Yeah. No,
games
it's
are going to
coming,
get there.
But you feel it. I
Yeah.
feel it.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa! I feel like this is coming. You know, big time. So we'll see. I guess
I
we
think
wait and see.
AR is going to take off a lot faster than VR. And we've already seen so much of that with like Pokemon Go, augmented reality. I'm pretty sure this could have been just a dream I had, but I'm pretty sure they're inventing AR.
That's the
Yeah.
whole thing, right? This is the thing. Did I
Yeah.
invent? This
I'm
is the
pretty
whole-
sure
this is exactly what I'm
they're
talking about.
working-
Was
yeah.
it a dream? It wasn't a dream. I lived.
They
it. Did I
have
play it?
AR
What? I
glasses
don't.
already, and I'm pretty sure that they're trying to invent AR contacts. And what that allows people to do is it kind of allows you to like see things that aren't actually there, so you can do things like work and stuff. Like, you ever see the movies where people pull up like holograms and they're moving things around and stuff like that?
That's like Tony Stark, like
Like
Yes,
Tony
yes,
Stark,
yes, yes,
like
yeah.
augmented
Yeah.
reality will get to that point. We already have digital keyboards. You can
Right.
cast a keyboard to the table and type, and it will register.
yeah.
And they're not
Oh,
even,
right.
they're affordable.
Right.
They're at
Yeah.
Best Buy.
Yeah,
you
they
can
are.
go to Best Buy and get them.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you're at like Tony
Right.
Stark's like Emporium.
Well, I think I saw some Facebook sunglasses. I think I
Yeah.
saw some announcements.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to push AR a lot faster than VR because it's more doable
Right.
in a virtual. You can,
Right,
everybody's got a phone. So you can hold your phone up and you're immediately in AR. Like if you go to Google and you type in rhinoceros beetle, right? You can say view in AR if you have an Android phone or an iPhone, and it will actually put a rhinoceros beetle on your table the right size it's supposed to be.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all the beginning. I mean, it's like I played Pac-Man. Like, it was one of the first games I played.
That's
and It's
awesome.
like I was like 10, right? The Atari 2600. You guys
Yeah,
ever play
yeah.
that?
I have actually. Yeah.
My hand would get so sore. Like it's just like that rubber. Oh, that joystick, you know. And I'm like, and just like playing that thing, and then but to think 40 years, right? It's
Yeah.
about 40 years from where we've
Yeah,
come,
just-
right? And to think 40 years from
Oh
now,
my
like,
god!
it's
How
kind of
fast
neat.
everything's
It's-
moving.
Oh my
yeah,
god!
that's.
Whoa. Where's it gonna
Well,
go?
we could wrap things up with
Okay.
the rapid fire round if you're ready, John.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
So
Yeah.
we're just gonna ask these questions, and first thing that comes to the top of your head, we'll answer it. All right? So,
Yeah.
John, you could start this off. You want to do it? Kick it off.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
5 seconds on the clock.
5 seconds.
We got 10 questions.
Top 5.
And I will Steve Harvey YouTube
top
roast
5.
you if you get them wrong.
It's
Like, if
sounds
I say-
this sounds like the family.
Yeah,
family feud,
if
you
I'm
know,
like,
you actually
name
see
a
it.
color, and you're like, banana, it's over. You're going on the front of page of YouTube, 3 million views,
Okay.
Wesker's a banana. All right.
Right, exactly. All right, go ahead.
And we might throw some bonus ones in as they come.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Favorite movie?
Highlander.
Favorite drink?
And favorite drink. Ooh, alcohol.
Anything.
Doesn't
Anything.
matter. Red wine. Nice full-bodied red.
Okay.
Favorite flavor?
Chocolate. Dark chocolate.
Favorite late night snack?
Same. Dark chocolate.
Favorite animal?
Yeah. Ooh. Komodo dragon.
Ooh, okay. Favorite
Komodo.
weather?
Favorite weather? Yeah, a good it's partly cloudy.
There you go.
Well,
Sun
that's
is
you must
partly
be used to
clouds.
that in London or UK, wherever you are.
I'm beginning to enjoy the weather here.
Wow, it is such a nice day out. How is the weather outside? Cloudy, like always.
Because you don't want to have a partly cloudy.
Partly cloudy. The overcast, they call it. The overcast.
No, not overcast. Partly cloudy. Sometimes it's cloudy. It's like you get a little break.
Right.
I like that too.
I like.
Not just sunny all the time, like roast.
No wonder Wesker wears
Partly
sunglasses all
cloudy.
the time because he's used to
Exactly,
the UK weather where it's always cloudy.
Corey Hart. You wouldn't know that. Corey Hart.
No.
No.
He wears his sunglasses at night. Somebody in this
Corey Hart.
Corey Hart.
All right.
Yeah, Corey Hart.
Bonus questions.
Mm.
Favorite color?
Red.
Favorite band?
Ooh. My friends will laugh. I'm a big Neil Diamond fan.
Okay, that's awesome.
I like Neil.
That's awesome.
Neil Diamond, but I for some reason-
Favorite ice cream flavor that's not chocolate.
Mm. Well, it's not rum raisin. My dad likes it.
It's not rum raisin.
But,
Rum raisin.
but I'll go with
Sounds like some-
rum raisin. I'll go with. I like it. I like pistachio.
Okay.
Actually. Pistachio.
Okay.
What is the percentage of people in Canada who actually say A?
98.
Roasting them. That's why they really got the job. They were like, Barry, read your line. He said, A, you're hired. What? Where am I? What's a microphone?
I don't know what I'm doing.
I hope we get to talk to Barry because I want him to do that.
I hope to too. But he's not gonna. He was right. I don't think what you're going to.
Jill, I'll just go get some.
Jill.
Yeah, I love when he goes, I'll just go get some fresh air and be eaten by a monster. It's so good. It's so good. And you got any more? I got one more. Or I got two more.
What was your favorite TV show?
Oh, I liked Frasier.
Okay.
That show.
Okay,
Frasier.
I haven't seen that one.
Okay.
Frasier was a good comedy show. I liked that very much. That
What
show.
is
And also, there's so many things. Like Family Feud.
Family Feud's
yeah.
great.
Actually.
What is your favorite Japanese dish?
That's a good question.
Well, it has to be sushi. I like, the sashimi. Actually, sashimi, raw fish, and tuna, but kampachi or chutoro. Yeah. Anyway, people know Japanese and know chutoro. Yeah, chutoro. That's just.
Do you have a favorite Japanese movie?
Oh, the Seven Samurai.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just started those. I think there's
That's just
isn't there like a
it's
13 of them?
The Seven Samurai is a Kurosawa film.
Oh, okay. There's like a samurai series that's like a lot of like 9 or 10 films.
Oh yeah, a lot.
And I just started them.
The Kurosawa is just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
We got
Okay.
one more.
Yeah, I got one more. This is a really tough one.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Top 5 answers on the board. Yes.
Give me your best Wesker. I'm ready. First, and then I'll hit you with it.
I'm ready.
Chris is such an idiot. You have to say I'm ready. Barry's such a fool.
Okay. I'm ready. Barry's such a fool.
Who is your favorite
Yeah.
blue-eyed, blonde-haired S.T.A.R.S captain who's 38 years old, who infiltrated the mansion to trick all of his subordinates into be collecting combat data on the Tyrant and the rest of the bioweapons in the Spencer mansion?
Albert Wesker.
That's right. That's
Hell
right.
yeah.
Let's go. I was expecting him to go, me.
Yeah, me.
Well, it's probably me.
Well, it's probably.
Yeah, it's probably me. That would have been some shit. Could you imagine if the plot twist was Wesker was like, I did it with my own dirty hands, and he's like, what? And Chris is just like, what are you on about? And he's like, I figured it out, Chris. It was me.
This be the whole time.
All along, it was me. It's
I
always
erased
been
my
me.
memory, so I
And
wouldn't know.
And it always will. That's right.
Lexonal, would you believe us if we told you that for the time in '96, your father is actually a really good voice actor?
I wouldn't believe you.
If you go back to '96 and you go listen to what voice acting was like in video games, your dad's top tier.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
Is that really true?
It's 100%
That's very
true.
nice of you.
It's very true.
Wow.
the best voice actor
Wow.
in RE1, hands
Best
down.
voice actor in
Yeah.
RE1. I mean, Barry's a trip.
Barry's a trip. Yeah, I would say it's between you and Barry.
Barry.
Who played him again?
Barry Jurdy.
Barry Jurdy.
Yeah, at least that's what. I don't know if that's his name, but that's what it says.
That's
his
what
name is.
that's what the interwebs has.
Yeah,
come
yeah, I
up
think
with.
that's I think that's true. That's
Barry
You know,
Jurdy.
you know so much about the game. It's quite surprising.
Yeah, we know probably
Every single detail. It's like, and
Yeah.
you know the answer.
Yeah, the first game is
Yeah.
a major part of our lives because that's like, I used to have nightmares when I was little, and my parents would tell me if I kept having nightmares about zombies that I wasn't allowed to play it anymore. So I would lie to them and tell them I was being chased by a giant turkey.
What's scary about turkeys? I don't.
When it's a giant turkey, you run too.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, probably
Anything giant.
giant turkey.
There's a whole genre in Japan called, why can't I think of it? Kaiju. If anything is bigger than a building, you're running. It's just the way that it is. It's just the way that it is.
That's great.
Is that recording?
That's great.
What's that? Yeah, that's recording. Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
it's good.
All right, why don't you ask Lexonal a question?
Well, what kind of games did you actually get into, like when you were growing up? Like, what was your first memories of games? Because ours were stuff on PlayStation 1, stuff like Resident Evil, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro.
I started with Mortal Kombat when I was 4 years
stuff
old.
like that.
Yeah.
What was kind of your introduction to video games?
Or do you play games?
Or do you play games? Yeah.
Yeah, I played games like Minecraft, Roblox, and that stuff. And when I was young, mainly the iPad. You know, you don't really go on a computer when you're 6 years old. You know, it's
Right.
a bit like over the top. But yeah, you know, just playing some kids games that you don't do anymore. But yeah,
Yeah.
just,
But I mean, they have such big, like such a big following, and there's a lot of Minecraft streamers and Roblox, and
yes.
there's a big market in that, and it keeps growing because there's a bunch of people jumping online every day and watching videos, and that's how they find out about the game. So they kind of go back and jump on it and see what the hype is about. I think that's a big thing with the gaming community on Twitch and YouTube and all platforms, is like it's just a bunch of fans that just all like it and all just want to do it themselves. And that would be kind of my advice, is just always keep doing it. Keep like making videos, do stuff that you think is cool with it, like make it fun. If that's what you're gonna do as far as like content, like
Yeah, that's a good
recording
question
videos or
too.
live streaming.
What kind of YouTube channel are you making?
mainly like reviewing older things that I wasn't alive for, like that kind of stuff. It's like
You
quite cool.
are a gem,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah,
are
and it's
one
a-
of a kind
Yeah.
at 12 years old to even care about that stuff.
Some
So
people
definitely-
just look
What-
forward, right? They don't
Yeah.
look backwards, but that's a good
Yeah,
that's a
what's
good
old
concept.
was looking at like 1900s. It's like
Yeah.
just yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
different.
cool, because again, you have to, you're going to be going down different series and franchises and stuff that like, stuff that you might find challenging, stuff that you might find easy, but there's so many things that generations of gaming that have so many layers of franchises and series that are fun, stuff you could do videos on, like there's a lot out there.
Yeah,
so
and
many consoles too, like
If
it's all
you
different
if you
platforms.
guys, I'm correct. You have either of you played through Resident Evil 1?
We're making a video on that soon. We're thinking about making.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's something that's in the cards.
awesome.
That is in the
Should.
cards.
If you need any,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
If you need any advice or any like how that's technically possible, we can help you out.
Okay, that's good.
If you
Yeah,
want,
Yeah, we might
that's
need
real
that.
good. Yeah.
It's
My
very
dad's
hard
not
to
the
attain.
best.
Yeah.
He's not the best at like controlling like characters online. Not a typical online guy, but
It'll,
So
it'll make
you were
it
trying
better.
you were trying to
Yeah,
trying to explain the GH
it's
thing.
WASD.
WASD.
Oh,
Yeah, WASD.
I was like, what is that?
What's WASD?
What's
WASD. Now I see it. Now I see it. I see it. Yeah.
All right. One more question for you from me. I think I'll ask. Oh, I gotta know. I gotta know. Because it's such a big part of my life. It's not Resident Evil related, but do you like Pokemon?
I don't not like it, but I don't play it. Yeah, it's fine.
There's a lot of people like that now who just watch the show or like know it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I've watched like Pokemon Indigo League and that kind of stuff.
Who's your favorite?
Well, probably Pikachu, right?
Okay.
Good answer.
Better than Charizard. I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Are there any other kind of videos that you guys are gonna kind of do together, whether it's obviously Resident Evil related or not Resident Evil related? Do you guys have any other things you're kind of kicking around as far as like ideas or stuff for your channel?
I was thinking of some TV shows actually, like Dukes of Hazzard, shows that I grew up with as a kid. Things that are just fun. I'm not sure whether you even know that show.
Well, talk about movies. Yeah. You're sitting next to somebody who has like a. I was going to say $20,000 movie collection, but it's probably close to $5,000.
It's not that high, but it's I do like a lot of other forms of media, like movies and TV shows. I'm familiar with Dukes of Hazzard. I've never watched the whole thing, but that's cool that you mentioned that. So like covering some like older TV shows or stuff that like
exactly
around for. Yeah, that's really
exactly
cool.
Yeah. What you guys have to do is you have to play Resident Evil 1.
Yeah.
And you both have to cosplay as Wesker. So it's Wesker and Wesker plays Wesker.
Both get shades.
I'll wear the glasses.
You both need the shades, slick back the hair. And you both need to wear you need to wear vests. There they are.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
I think I was wearing these shades in that last video we did together.
That's awesome.
It's so great.
That's great. It's good.
Wesker,
very good.
Wesker.
And I guess we want you to obviously shout out your channel too. So what
go
is
ahead and shout out your
we're gonna
channel.
put it in the description, but
we'll get links from your dad later.
Yeah,
we'll put them in the video.
Yeah, my dad uploads a bit stuff. He does like Japanese swords. Like that videos are quite good.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. But what's your channel's name? You want to tell them what your channel is? Where people can find you? What's your channel's name? Lexonal. Yeah.
Okay.
So how do you spell that?
Lexonal.
Perfect.
And it's on YouTube.
Yeah, you can search it up.
Cool deal. We'll put the link down below for everyone watching and listening. So, perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have? Wait. Well, I think it's only fair. Do you have any questions for us?
Flip the script.
What questions do you have?
How old were you when you played the game at your age?
Resident Evil 1?
I was 4 when I first watched it, 5 when I first played it, and 7 when I first beat it.
Whoa.
I was like quite young to watch like this.
Not in my era, it wasn't. back when I'm a little older than Ant, just a little bit, but we're around the same age. I'm 27. When I was 4 years old, nobody would say anything or stop me from buying Mortal Kombat or anything like that. I could walk around with it. I could buy it. The world is a lot different now. There wasn't ESRB, I don't even think.
There was after Mortal Kombat 1.
But it did. I think it was the basic, right? It was like ESRB. There was no E10. There was no.
It was just KA. Yeah.
I don't remember there ever being like, oh, you need an adult with you. Even for movies when I was younger, they would let me into anything.
Just how the 90s.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We didn't really
That's true, actually, right?
Yeah, I didn't have to really deal with any of that. Obviously, like X-rated movies, they would stop you. But like if a bunch of kids, like 12 years old kids were going to see like a horror movie, like they wouldn't stop us.
Depends on the theater.
It depends on the theater, but they just wouldn't stop us.
Yeah, some towns wouldn't care and stuff like that. I was probably about 3 or 4 years old when I first played it or watched it. Kind of a combination of both. My dad had a bunch of games on PS1, and he never really cared about what I played or watched or whatever, but I was able to play. The first one I was fully able to play was Resident Evil 3, and then as I got older, I went back and played the other games, and it kind of left a trail of just Resident Evil in the collection that I was playing and consuming, and those early days of playing it are always kind of in, you know, the back of my head. I always remember them, and that's kind of like what my first memories of gaming was, and reading the strategy guide and trying to get through it, reading the guide and trying to understand it. So all that was like probably the first memory that I have of just gaming in general, in addition to like Siphon Filter and a couple other different games in that era, you know.
You're playing games every day. Do you play games every day, pretty much?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much. We dedicate a lot of time, especially now that we're trying to push the channel further. We play Resident Evil almost every day,
so much.
Multiple times a week. Plus, like current games that we're just playing in our free time, like PS5 stuff on PS5 or stuff on the Xbox. Newer titles, because we don't just play horror stuff. We play a mixture of everything. He likes particular games. I like different games too, but we all kind of meet in the middle with like stuff like this, or
Resident Evil.
You know,
Resident Evil is really what brought us all together.
Yeah, really. So we just try to always keep gaming around, and my dad still plays games, and he's in his 60s, so he's still gaming.
Wow.
So it's always kind of been around growing up, you know, and it's been around in his family too. So that's kind of where we.
Yeah, my
have
mom
that
still
relation.
plays games. I'm a huge Pokemon fan. I'm actually getting back into it. I'm going to be running to the. I'm going to go back to World Championships and stuff like that. I'm coming out of retirement, so that'll be fun.
You actually travel? You actually go someplace with it?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, usually
Wow.
Philly. Philly is the first step, and then if I get through Philly, it's usually either Austin or I don't know if they'll do California this year because of the fires, but they'll probably do a different, like Baltimore, and then after that it's Hawaii for the World Championships, where you play with people from the UK, Japan, everything.
I think gaming now is taken a little bit more seriously now that there's like tournaments and esports and
definitely.
streaming, and people are just doing what they're doing, you know. I think that's the one thing that changed in recent years, is that like people kind of look at it a little bit differently now in a more positive way, you know.
I would be willing to argue that esports could be approaching
like regular sports, right?
hockey level money.
Wow.
I mean, with endorsements and how much stuff's getting put into it, I can see that becoming a big thing with all these.
Which is probably absolutely crazy to you, Pablo.
It is.
It's like digital
completely
sports.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, it is. I mean, I remember when I was like 5 and 6 years old, I was like playing Pong in kindergarten, you know, like just like little, you know, that dot. That's really how I started, you know, like the very first game. It's just incredible how it went from there. And then, you know, 16 years old, you're playing that baseball game, Nintendo DS. Is it not DS? Is it DS?
DS was, maybe it wasn't around that time.
No, DS was 2004.
2004.
Yeah.
So what was the Nintendo that was out like in
Super
would be
Nintendo.
1980s? It had like a gray black box.
Just the Nintendo.
NES, just
NES.
Nintendo, yeah.
Well, they
Nintendo
called it
Entertainment
in
System.
Japan. It was the Famicom, and then it became the NES when it came to America, and then they
And
re-released
the
it.
base. So that was great. I mean, as with my friends, you know, as teenagers, we would play that baseball game, and then there's like a duck hunt. It was like a
Shoot the
duck
gun
hunt.
at the screen.
I remember that actually.
Yeah, I
Where
still
can I
have
get
the
my
like on.
screen, man?
Yeah, that's kind of what my dad had the old NES too, and I got exposed to that like when I was a little bit older too. He brought that down from the attic, and I was like, holy crap, this is cool. Like
That's what I played Mortal Kombat on.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 2 on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. Super Nintendo is another great one.
Yeah. I'm a big Nintendo
That's
fan.
awesome.
I love
Yeah, they
Nintendo.
Gee, what does Nintendo mean? Like, I was just trying to think.
Nintendo is
Okay.
way to heaven.
Way to heaven. Oh, Tendo, right?
Yeah.
And then Do is path.
Yep.
That's right.
Path to heaven, yeah.
Path to heaven.
And they
That's
used
right.
to make trading cards. That's how they started in Japan. And in 18. They were around in the 1800s.
No, really?
Yeah, they were around. I think it was like 1860 or something like that.
Holy I didn't even know
Yeah,
that.
1860. I'll fact check it real quick.
Yeah.
But it was like they started with trading cards, and then it just carried, and then they eventually started making games.
And now they have like IPs that are known across the world, like Mario. And
Oh yeah, they're
Zelda
worth.
and
Pokemon's worth is the most.
Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokemon's worth more than any other franchise in history
Yeah.
by a large margin. It's like Hello Kitty is number 2.
Yeah.
And Hello Kitty's like 20 to 25 billion behind in gross
Wow.
in gross profit.
Whoa.
1889.
1889.
It was founded in September 23rd, 1889.
Wow.
By Fusajiro Yamauchi.
In Kyoto?
Yep, Kyoto.
Yeah, it's a Kyoto company. Kyoto is that is the former capital of Japan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Kyo means old, actually, and To means capital. So the old capital, Kyoto. And then you had the east capital. To also is east. So you have like Tokyo is, of course, the east capital. So you look at Kyoto and you just reverse the two letters, right? So you got Kyoto and Tokyo.
Yeah.
So kind of almost like a play on words, you know. But if you've started in Kyoto, then you kind of continue in Kyoto. It's one of those things, right? So it doesn't surprise. I remember reading somewhere that Nintendo was a Kyoto based and kind of more of a creative arts area of Japan, right? Whereas Tokyo is more business and finance and so on and so forth. You know. Yeah, fascinating.
That's awesome.
It's amazing how you can redevelop yourself and reinvent your company from whatever it starts from 1800s to.
Yeah, and it's a crazy story too. It's the way that it worked out. It was like they became a computer software like programming and like it's just like randomly like somebody was just like, oh, let's just make games, and then Miyamoto came and just did everything.
Right.
Miyamoto's
one guy just
a god.
The god.
Yeah, he's just a god. He's like top tier video game design. Square is actually very similar. Square Enix is another huge publisher from Japan, and they started off as a electric company.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then they were just like,
evolution.
Screw the electronics. We're doing video games.
We're going full on games right
now. Yeah, I'm really big into Japan. I've actually been starting to study Japanese finally, and that's been pretty rough, but it's been pretty good. Like it's
good. Go for it. Yeah,
it's good.
It's
I know my numbers now, basically, to some degree.
Right.
Basic phrases and stuff, but it's really cool. I definitely want to go one day and visit. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Well, then you'll meet some older Japanese guy that'll speak Japanese to you, and you'll be like, and you'll feel so deflated that you don't understand a word because it's.
Yeah, I mean,
because actually, if you meet an old lady in Japan and you'll be like konnichiwa, you know, they speak slowly and very easy, you know.
That's what I've heard.
So it's very, very gentle. So learning from a Japanese woman is especially older is an easier way of going rather than the guttural. You know, like kind of just really so hard. Japanese old guys, and dealing with Japanese swords like I do is
they're just rough people.
They're all gentlemen, but they speak from the gut, you know.
It's a very different culture too.
Yeah.
It's like Spanish.
Spanish to speak quickly, you know. You just
Spanish is.
I don't know what they're on, like just on some speed, you know, like anybody who speaks Spanish. My mother is from Chile, and I wanted to learn Spanish actually, you know, like but they were but wasn't the best teacher, and any time you hear anybody who speaks Spanish natively, it's just rocket fire.
It's a machine. Yeah,
it's just fast. So it's just slow it down, like okay, and they can slow it down for a couple sentences, but then just goes right back into into motoring, you know. So anyway, it's but different cultures, different languages.
And then even within, right? Like I'm on Hello Talk, which has been really helpful. I talk to a lot of Japanese people from Japan who are trying to learn English, and like we kind of share. And
that's great.
So many people just tell me like, you know, oh, I go 2 cities over, can't understand anyone. Even in their own language, it's like people just have such different dialects.
Right. I think it's a bit of a stretch, but it's true that there's some, especially up in Aomori, you know, and there's definitely Aomori Ben, and it's an old country, right? I mean, it's an old country, and there wasn't a lot of movement really within the country, and the same thing here in the UK. You have these pockets of, just amazing, isn't it? Like just 10-minute drive and then different accent altogether.
Japan changed much in the past few hundred years as well. It's just like, you know, have the same routines and these like religious stuff, you know.
There's a lot of temples. It's true. A lot of temples. But I can assure you they've embraced neon in Japan. They,
like
there's
anime.
There's an electricity bill of
Yeah, anime is another thing that Japan like. It's kind of like a clash of old culture and new culture over there, because they have like the anime boom after World War II. You know, like that's where anime comes from. Anime comes from the World War II era, where we just, you know, obviously they had bombs dropped on them, and they were looking for something to be a more uplifting, cute thing. So they came out with Hello Kitty and all of that stuff. And that's where anime really comes from, is that response to a very dark and defeated era. And it's like everywhere in Japan is like neon, anime, and then like cute things, like everywhere. Like I see streets and it's just like crazy. And then you've got like, obviously, as you go further away from the cities, you get more of the shrines, more of the very beautiful areas. It's a beautiful place. I want to go so bad.
Now, are there any cars in Japan, or is everyone's on the street like every?
No, there's lots of cars in Japan. I mean, a lot of cars. Yeah. Too many cars, really. A lot of taxis in Tokyo, though. Gosh, you can so easily get.
New York, but,
you know. Well, New York, you notice them because they're yellow, but in Japan, there's a lot of taxis.
Yeah.
And it was actually I didn't drive in Japan. Only, you know, it would take if I had to like move apartment, I would rent a van or something. But there's no need. You just get so used to public transportation, and actually that carried me forward even here to the UK. I'm like, you know, I don't have a car here either, so I just take the bus.
Right.
And everybody's like, you take the bus, really? Like, but I actually like the bus. You know, I like the bus and like the public transport. You know, but back in Canada and North America, you just can't. Yeah, you can't.
Your whole life, you know.
Yeah. But I started driving so young when I was in like around 15. I started driving in Canada and had my license at 16 and just drove to high school. I was driving my sister when I think about it. I was 16 driving my sister to high school and she's like 14.
Wow.
Just like had my own cars, like driving, right? Like a half an hour to school, and then we would go swimming. I used to be a competitive swimmer, so we swam after school and you know, an hour here, an hour there, just driving. So by the time I went to Japan in '93, I was like, I had enough, you know. I had enough of driving. I think it's 17 to start driving, yeah.
Pablo, thank you so much for being a part of the Let's Talk Resident Evil podcast.
Yeah, this has been great, man.
And thank you,
a lot of fun.
You know, for bringing Lexonal on. Everybody, make sure you go check out. Make sure you go check out Lexonal's YouTube channel. Link will be in the description below. Make sure you go check out Pablo's channel.
Oh yeah.
If you like Japanese swords, or you like his swords.
The catalog. We'll put the link down there.
And he's also going to be doing some Resident Evil. Maybe we'll see.
I've got a few ideas in mind. Yes, definitely some little Wesker mix in there for sure.
So why don't you give a sign off and say whatever you want to the Let's Talk Resident Evil community?
Well, just it's been a great pleasure being on here and rehashing some great memories. I mean, and I'm just thrilled that you guys, you know, get as much joy today as you did when you were young guys playing the game. And if I can be a part of that from now and into the future, I'm more than happy to speak again and keep in good contact.
Good.
So, awesome.
Don't be a fool like Barry. Subscribe to LTRE for more Resident Evil content